107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis.
It's Kevin and Query.
I throw, you catch. It's not that hard, okay? All right, get the out of here.
I'm going to talk a lot about drills and fundamentals.
Watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it!
On 93.5
Watch it!
and 107.5.
Boom, baby!
The Fan.
Now, Kevin, I got to give you a ton of credit here. Like a ton. This is impressive to me. And I'm a natural cynic about stuff. You know this, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm a little nervous.
We live in a world where relatability and relevance is a better word, where relevance is determined by like clicks and views, right? And I look at it and I'm like, man, you do a great job by going to the OTAs and showing like a 5-yard flare pass from Nick Foles to a 21-year-old just drafted receiver, and I look at it and it's like 160,000 views. And I'm like, holy cow, man. People love this stuff, right?
Well, I think it's a credit to the biggest story in Major League Baseball right now is a dude slapping another dude over fantasy football. The NFL, as you often say, is the 800-pound gorilla, and people eat it up. People crave it, and you and I use the phrase often, use your credential. You did it with the Golden Badge series, and so, albeit it is helmets and shorts for the Colts right now, but the fact that we get access one day a week, throw some videos up, get a look at number 14, Alec Pierce in a different jersey, and yesterday walking away from West 56th Street, I would say some very, very encouraging news on the injury front, which is not something you typically say with the Colts, so we'll hit on that today, and also some it's kind of puzzling injury news as well that we can hit on. It's kind of a busy Thursday. Tonight, game one. And by the way, good morning. Happy Thursday to everybody tuning in to Kevin and Coy. We appreciate that. We're going to have Mike Locksley on in the 9 o'clock hour. He's the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins, was the head coach of Colts draft pick Nick Cross. He's going to join us a little bit later. We've got game one of the finals tonight. That will be Golden State hosting Boston. Some continued good news on the Indiana basketball front, as yesterday was the deadline for underclassmen to declare for the NBA draft. Did you see Gonzaga's Drew Timme is back for a 14th year?
I did. And again, he kind of, and this is no disrespect to either of these guys that are just tremendous college basketball players, but he kind of falls into the same category as Trace Jackson Davis, right? Like, they were not going to be first-round picks.
Right.
I don't know that, Timme probably was a mid-second rounder. I don't know that Trace Jackson Davis was I think he could have played himself into the second round, but the COVID thing hurt him. But nonetheless, yeah, Timme is a great college player. He kind of has a Christian Laettner about him.
Yeah, I kind of like him.
Do you really?
Yeah. I get that he's hateable. The mustache probably pisses some people off. And his antics, kind of like pretty celebration.
Correct. He's very look at me.
Who has played college basketball longer, Timme, Jerry McNamara, or Scotty Reynolds?
Chris Kingsbury. Jess Settles. There's like a whole string. I don't know if you know this or not, but if you are a 6'7" white guy from Iowa, you get to play 9 years for the Hawkeyes.
Is Bohannon back at Iowa this year? Because he's been there since you were at Kansas, I think.
A billion of them, right? I've always wondered this. For Indiana or Purdue, either one, what player that played at either of those two schools is that guy for other schools?
Okay, so the first one that popped in my head for Purdue?
Robbie Hummel? Brian Cardinal?
I should have gone with Hummel, but I actually went with Chris Kramer.
Okay, that's a good one. I think
you've got to be an irritable player to also fit the category to a T.
That's
and honestly,
true.
This year for IU, Jake, you know who it's going to be, is Race Thompson.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, wait, that dude is still there?
You're right. No question.
And he just made that hustle play with 3 minutes to go in the game, and that's going to be the difference?
No question.
But again, IU continues to get good news. Largely, I mean, we knew Trace Jackson Davis was coming back, but largely from what the Big Ten is losing. So we'll go over
Brandon Brantley was at Purdue for 9 years also, right?
He's the big dude coach there, right?
He is. Brandon Brantley, actually, little-known trivia question. I'm 99.999% certain this is correct. He played in the Indiana. This is a great trivia question. Brandon Brantley, Scotty Johnston would be the only person in the state of Indiana walking around not named Brandon Brantley that might remember if I'm incorrect on this. When Alan Henderson, in the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star Series, Glenn Robinson was named Mr. Basketball. Alan Henderson removed himself from the Indiana-Kentucky series because he had a commitment to Jack and Jill, which was like a national organization. Brandon Brantley was the alternate that then filled in on the Indiana roster.
Where'd he go?
Purdue. High school. Elkhart. Either one of the Elkhart or one of the South Bend schools. I think it was Elkhart Concord maybe, or Memorial, one of those. But at any rate, good. Was it a good Wednesday for you? Anything fun and exciting?
It was. Nothing really. Trying to think. Went on with John yesterday around 5. Grilled some chicken last night with the fam. I did watch a little bit of the match. Did you flip over at all? I'm going to guess no.
I did not. Although my prediction was correct.
Mark?
No, I did not.
You know, I know I'm like not breaking news, but Charles Barkley just makes me laugh a lot. Him and J.J. Watt were really good on the telecast, and Aaron Rodgers made a 15-foot putt to win. So him and Tom Brady beat Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes there. But yeah, I'm excited for tonight. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier in the week. This is one of the more anticipated NBA Finals. You kind of forget at one point this season, Jake, Boston was like a middling 500 basketball team.
When it's interesting because the Celtics are the classic example, Kevin, I think, of patience. And by that I mean when they drafted Jason Tatum and then Jaylen Brown, I recall, I don't remember what year it was, and I apologize for that, but every year the NBA draft typically is the weekend of the IndyCar Road America race. And I say that only because Nick Yeoman and I would always drive up to Road America together, and we would listen to the NBA draft in the car on that Thursday night as we were driving to Road America up in Wisconsin. And I still remember driving around 294 in Chicago in between Brian Urlacher billboards. And
the hair ones?
The hair ones, yeah. And then firework, billboard. It's Urlacher, fireworks, Urlacher, fireworks for like 9 miles of billboards. But
you might say his hair are fireworks.
I haven't seen his hair. They just have the before picture. I don't know if they've done the afters. But at any rate, I remember one of those years in the car, and the chatter was that Jaylen Brown was a player that the Pacers had a pick that Boston was coveting, and Brown was rumored to be in the package that was being shopped. And obviously that was either a false rumor or Boston decided not to do it. But my point being that Jaylen Brown he was not an instant overnight plug-and-play guy. They've had to be really patient with, he's shown in terms of his consistency. He has grown he was drafted at a young age. He was, I think, a 19-year-old freshman out of Cal when they drafted him.
It wasn't like a stud freshman.
Correct. And so he's grown into that. And the same can kind of be said for Tatum in terms of understanding that it's his, I think maybe the roles between those two of, hey, listen, Tatum's the guy, and on the nights when Tatum is off, then Brown is the guy. And those two learning how to feed off of that, I think, is what we have seen before our very eyes, right? And it took patience for that, but we've seen it kind of come together before our very eyes. And then Marcus Smart is obviously a huge factor.
And Jake, I think some credit to Ime Udoka for coming in there. Probably not the greatest endorsement on the Kevin Pritchard resume, Nate Bjorkgren over Mr. Udoka a few years ago in the head coaching search, but he's come in there and has gotten, I think, that group, and Tatum and Brown especially, because they are two very ball-dominant players, to clearly coexist. And this is one of the more, to me, Jake, one of the more impressive runs through a conference Boston has had. The sweep of Brooklyn around 1, extremely difficult series with Milwaukee and Miami. Very different series, but long grinds through those series. Do you worry at all? Boston's coming off of back-to-back 7-game series. Golden State has lost just 4 times the entire postseason. haven't lost at home, and they've got home floor?
I think it's a fair question. I think the same thing, though, on the other side of it. So to answer your question, I would say no. If they were an older team, maybe. But I do think that there are a lot of teams and a lot of players in the league that would tell you that they'd almost rather stay in rhythm, right? Like the time off can, you're kind of going and you're playing. Teams are used to playing every other night.
Golden State's probably had a week off by now, right?
Yeah. Like I think for Boston, I'll bet you. Where is game one?
Golden State.
I'll bet you Boston wins game one tonight.
Really? Yeah. Can we do something on that? Friendly wager? Are you charging what is that? Looks like a small Bible.
How did you know? Guy was handing these out yesterday on Delaware. I picked it up. It's a leaflet. This is a portable charger.
Just your tablet Bible that you're bringing in to
That's right.
charge this morning?
This is a portable charger, and I'm not sure. It may be dead. I'm not sure that it's charging.
Yeah, let's go with a bag of Buc-ee's nuggets next time you're out traveling, and
okay,
we'll set that on game one. Should I give you some points? Golden State is favored by, I think, 4 last I saw.
Here, I'll see. I'm going to go on one of the, I'm not endorsing any, so I won't say any names, apps, and see what kind of action I can get on it.
Mark, who do you like in this series?
I've got the Warriors. Warriors in 6.
Going Warriors in 7 here. I did see something that was kind of weird. I don't know if this, I think it's notable. The only team in the NBA that has a winning record against Steve Kerr?
The only team, well, I'm going to say Boston because is it?
Yeah. Is that relevant? I mean, they play twice a year.
That's probably not because of that factor, right?
You never know who's healthy, in those 2 games, but I did think that was interesting. So
and
tonight,
Golden State is a team that does rest people over the course of the year, so I could see
definitely, yeah.
Going to Boston after a long flight, I could see those are games where guys are rested.
That's a good point. Tonight, game 1. Sunday will be game 2. We'll start at 9 o'clock in all of these games besides the Sunday games. So game 2 is on Sunday. If they get to a game 7, that will be on a Sunday. But besides that, we are looking at 9 o'clock tips in all of these series.
How about the New York Rangers last night? Mark, you're a hockey guy, right?
Yeah.
How about I don't know if you know the Rangers are my Eastern Conference team.
Oh, so now you're back on the bandwagon.
I still have my poster from '94. Adam Richter.
Great. It'll be Avalanche and Lightning in the finals. He'll be like, did I tell you I have a friend that, works in ticket sales for the Avalanche?
My buddy Mike Killebrew, my old boss, huge Lightning fan, wears his shirt all the time.
Go ahead, explain why you are a diehard Rangers fan.
Well, I've been to one Rangers game in my life. It was the Stanley Cup Final in 1994, Game 7.
One more than he's been to a Calgary Flames.
The crowd chanted. There's a slight travel issue there.
We've been over this. There are road games that are close by.
They only listen. Do you know how hard I've tried to make it work? There's always something that pops up when I'm supposed to go to.
Just so many Flames fans around the Midwest of the U.S. It's just hard.
It's actually true. A lot of people left over from the Atlanta days. They take advantage.
What was the score last night? 6-2? 6?
Yeah, 6-2.
Why such high scoring?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Bob Kravitz is usually my hockey go-to guy that I chat with him about that. Do you believe at all, and I feel this way about like when NFL teams get ready to play Kansas City, do you feel that way about Golden State? It's kind of hard to replicate what they do offensively, and all of a sudden you're almost kind of stunned by them in that initial game.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that also Golden State takes people out of their own rhythm of what they want to do, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Draymond, he is, by all accounts, one of the best defensive players of our generation, really. What he's able to do and kind of quarterbacking everything there. So I think it'll be a really fun series. Looking forward to that. Again, that will be game 1. Jake, TV ratings for the Indy 500, not anything to write home about, correct?
That is definitely correct.
It's a 4.8 million this year. That includes streaming, by the way, includes Peacock. Obviously, a local blackout. Last year was 5.5 million. And I think in general, if you look at the past decade, I think what's kind of alarming to me is the races in 2014, 15, 16, 17. You're talking 6 million, even 6.5 million. This number of 4.8 certainly does not compare to that. Maybe, I guess less people are watching TV in general since those years, but boy, just when you're going up against absolutely nothing, it was a mediocre PGA Tour event. Softball on ESPN, F1. I saw got a nice boost with Monaco on Sunday, and you don't get that with Jimmie Johnson and Romain Grosjean. That's disappointing.
I think there are several things that come into play here. Number one, TV ratings are difficult for any sport to replicate from years past for two reasons. Number one, I do think that when sports took a hiatus for a year or two, people got in the habit of doing other things. But more importantly, and these are the two things, this is the one thing that the NFL has yet to be hurt by. But Kevin, give me three sports off the top of your head.
Tennis, soccer, and baseball.
Okay, tennis, soccer, and baseball. I don't know, but I'm guessing that the mid-June Major League Baseball game of the week on whatever network does like a big game, the probably Premier League, and certainly like Wimbledon, that the TV ratings for those things have gone down gradually over like the last 3 years. And I think one of the biggest factors that people overlook in terms of television sports ratings for sports that take place between February and September is youth travel sports. I think the number of people in the coveted demo of 25 to 54 that, and I guarantee you there are people right now in their cars listening to this like, man, he is right, that say to themselves, we used to watch a lot, boy, we used to love to get together and watch tennis on Saturdays, Wimbledon, whatever, But
wouldn't that have applied 2014, 2015 when the TV ratings were much, much higher?
Yes, but I think that travel sports is bigger by the year. I really do. And it used to be back then, Kevin, and I'm talking, yes, as recently as 5 years ago, it was probably, the kids had 2 travel baseball tournaments. Now it's every single weekend. Well, we're going to, or soccer for that matter. Actually, soccer probably more so than baseball. I'd love to get together this Saturday, but Lily's got
4 games at Grand Park.
Right, Lily's got her soccer tournament down in Louisville, and we're going down there. We're going to Cincinnati for the weekend. But aside from those things, 2 things that come into play for the Indy 500 ratings, probably 3. Number one, we've gotten detached from appointment television viewing. People now, hey, are you watching? This Is Us? I've got it. We've got it in queue. I don't watch it on Tuesday nights at 9:00 or whatever. We watch it on Thursday on demand, that kind of thing. So people have gotten away from the appointment viewing of, the Indy 500's on Sunday at 11:00. I need to watch it. Number 2, and this affects NASCAR as well, Kevin. I truly believe this, and that is just an increasing disinterest in the automobile, quite frankly. That's probably the number one thing.
But isn't F1 on the rise?
Yeah, F1 is. That's a fair point. But I think F1's on the rise because F1, how many people, your wife likes F1, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Well, she's watched it because of that drama or the Netflix show, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So is she overly thrilled with, does she say to you when she watches it the Ferraris, they were so good through the gearbox this week, and no, she knows the stories of the people, right? IndyCar needs to do a better job of promoting its people. Joseph Newgarden, I had somebody say to me yesterday, they're like, that banquet, they're sitting on a gold mine with these guys. Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin and, all of them across Santino Ferrucci. They're
going to be in the car this weekend, by the way.
They're fun personalities, right? But I don't know that people know them.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I thought what was concerning about Sunday is I thought the Jimmie Johnson NASCAR poll, a little bit of the Grosjean F1 poll would lend to a bigger number.
I can't disagree with that.
And to not see it at that level, especially on a national basis. Let's take ourselves out of the Indy market because we know the blackout causes a big issue here from a TV viewership standpoint. But Jake, are we not at enough tracks around the United States? Why aren't some of these other markets when F1 is doing a bigger number on Sunday morning? I think the Coca-Cola 600 was a decent number, all things considered, for them. It just almost seems like ever since it went from ABC to NBC for the 500, it just hasn't been at that same level. Are you missing out on key promotion where when you were on ABC, you've got SportsCenter every night? You've got SportsCenter
I think that's a
every
big
morning.
part of it. I think that's a huge part of
and
it.
And F1 has that because they're on ESPN.
It's a big part of it. The F1 thing, I'm telling you, the Netflix series, I mean, my worry is that IndyCar may be late to the game on that now.
Yeah, it feels like they are.
But you know, the one another factor, and I'm just pointing out different factors. The race green flagged at 12:45, right?
Yeah.
It was 9:45 in the West Coast. 9:45 in the morning on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, but isn't F1 6 a.m.
I get it.
Local time?
But F1, I think a lot of that is probably I don't know. I would imagine a decent amount of that is watched like on demand also. I don't know if those are factored in. Yeah, the F1 anomaly you're right. I mean, it offsets any theory that you could have regarding the IndyCar. The other thing, okay, let me throw one other one at you. Do you like people that like Formula One that were introduced to it because of the Netflix documentaries or whatever you want to call it, the reality show on Netflix, that are introduced to F1 that otherwise didn't follow racing? That's their appetite now for race. Like that fulfills their whatever appetite they had for auto racing. Are you a racing fan? Well, not really, but I do watch Formula One. Well, what about IndyCar? You should watch that. Well, I mean, I already watched Formula One. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that people are as much into the sport and the automobile to watch more than one series. They like the drama of the personalities and the competition and the background stories of the Formula One stuff from the show. There they watch Formula One races, but they don't have enough appetite for the innovation of the automobile to watch it across the board. I personally, I mean, I think everybody knows what I think about the Indy 500, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. And when I was there and watching the flyover and everything that goes into it, I'm like, this is a massive event, and you have to be here to see how massive it is. But does it translate to TV? I don't know. I've never watched it on television.
I think John brings up a good point. Could part of it be that 60, 70 laps in F1 seems more manageable from a viewing standpoint? Maybe the same length, but 200 laps is a lot.
That's true.
I think that is intimidating when you flip over and you initially see that. A couple other, and again, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall. Maybe it's not there, and I know we're kind of up against it. You haven't had an American winner of the 500 since Rossi. Is not having that a young American star. Is that something that, is a bit of an issue? And then, 2014, 15, those years, I do think from a passing standpoint, there was a ton of entertainment there. It's not at that level. Like, do you need to get back to that level to get the casual fan?
Well, there's no doubt that the Arrow package, everybody's figured it out, and there were less passes, no doubt about that. Also, people, I will say this, people that say like, well, but it's because look at how massive the crowd was in the stands, and that takes away from TV numbers. Listen, 5 million viewers is basically a 2.5 rating. So when you're talking about an extra 10,000 people in the stands, you're talking about a 0.01 rating bump. I mean, that's not as big a factor as people think.
Yeah, to me, it's just, again, nationally, how can you get other markets across the continental U.S. to pay attention to it at that level? He's Jake Query. I'm Kevin Bowen. Mark Dykton, as always. Stephen Holder at 8 o'clock. Scott Agness at 8:30. Again, Mike Locksley, the Maryland head football coach, to talk Nick Cross, the new Colts safety, is going to join us. Some very good injury news for the Colts, and some other, I don't know, it's kind of an awkward situation right now with one of their stars as well, injury-wise. And we'll touch on Kenny Moore. A little bit of a different stance from Kenny Moore yesterday. Could he be looking at a fine next week if he does not show up to minicamp? We'll talk about that as well. Kevin and Query on an overcast Thursday here in Indy.
Everybody needs a man cave.
Ours just happens to be a little bigger than most.
All right. Let's not go there. Let's just invite them to our place.
We're getting together for a night in the Fan Cave, brought to you by Forum Credit Union on June 23rd. We'll chat about sports, tell lies, and talk smack.
We'll start the evening down in the Larceny Lounge with munchies, beer, and plenty of Larceny and Evan Williams bourbon.
This is going to be a heck of a party and a show rolled into one.
Tickets are on sale now at 1075thefan.com.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
The Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Indiana State Fairgrounds for sporting, hunting, and personal protection. Visit the Indy 1500 Gun Show.
The Sundown Gardens Container Tree Sale is this Saturday and Sunday. 20% off all container trees at Sundown Gardens, 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, sundowngardens.com.
Hey, tennis fans, with the BetRivers.com Sportsbook app, you can smash, slice, and spin your way to big tennis paydays. That's because we're serving up the excitement of live in-game betting, where you can bet on all the action, including point-by-point betting from tournaments around the world. Plus, with BetRivers' award-winning customer service, it's game, set, and match. Download the BetRivers.com Sportsbook app. It's a whole new game.
Must be 21. Must be located in Indiana. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 1-800-994-8448.
Summer's in Indy, and since 2001, Rhino Shield has been covering Indiana homes and businesses. Just ask Mike.
I was watching TV one night and saw the Rhino Shield ad, and I thought, well, if they can do a house, they can probably do a building.
And Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
So they came out and they gave me a price, showed me how the Rhino works, how it lasts, and how the guarantee works.
Business owners, you too can get the 25-year protection of Rhino Shield right now for 10% off the regular price.
They started on the building. They waited for us to leave, and they worked Saturday and Sunday so they wouldn't affect our business at all. This was the great part of it. I came back Sunday night, and we're here. There was no paint on the ground. They did a fantastic job.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Hey, don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a lounge singer to be their office receptionist.
Hello, this is Mickey Marquis, and you've reached the office of Doug & Associates. Thank you very much. Catch me Tuesday nights at the Hotel Johnson. Hello?
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Doug & Associates, this is Mickey Marquis. Hello?
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road. Avoid biking in the rain and never touch another person's bike.
Hey guys, look at these bikes. So shiny. Whoops. I'm gonna leave a note. Oh gosh, there's more.
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.
O'Reilly! Stay cool this summer with AC Pro Refrigerant and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, get a $15 O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card after mail-in rebate, plus earn double O Rewards points with the purchase of select AC Pro Refrigerant products. Beat the heat before you hit the road with AC Pro Refrigerant at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, it's JMV for the absolute best in realty. Mark Deedle Realty. 317-755-4232. That's 317-755-4232. Online, markdeedle.com. That's markdeedel.com. Today. So, how about Eddie in Morrisville? He wanted to sell his rental property to maximize the equity now in case prices start to cool. He heard about Mark Deedle on the radio and hired him. Everything he claims on the radio is absolutely true. Mark is smart and aggressive. He gave him multiple offers on that home in days, and they had it sold in 2 weeks for the high price that he wanted. Mark Deedle has a guarantee for you. Multiple offers on your home in 3 days, or he is going to list it for free. That's Mark Deedle Realty, 317-755-4232, 317-755-4232. MarkDeedle.com, that's Mark, TEL.com today.
This is Jake Query, Turn 3 announcer of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network, with this Driven to Save Lives Fast Fact brought to you by Indiana Donor Network, official partner of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Did you know that Hoosier Brian Clausen was leading on lap 100 of the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500? Brian was also a leader in saving lives. Brian Clausen was tragically fatally injured in a 2016 race, but because he'd registered his decision to be an organ donor, he helped save 5 lives. One of those lives saved is Dan Alexander, Brian's heart recipient. Dan, a United States Marine veteran, had suffered a massive heart attack in 2013, destroying the left side of his heart. Because of Brian's decision to be a registered organ donor, Dan received a life-saving heart transplant, giving the U.S. Marine veteran more time to volunteer in his community and enjoy life with his children and grandchildren. You can help save lives by signing up to be an organ donor at driventosavelives.org. That's driven, the number 2, savelives.org.
Sunny day. You'll be on Cloud 9 this summer with a spectacular offer from Diamonds Direct. Right now, for a limited time, you can make any purchase and take advantage of 0% interest financing for 5 years. It's our most popular offer ever. How about that $6,000 designer ring for just $100 a month? Fine jewelry has never been more affordable. But hurry, this is a limited time offer. 5 years, 0 interest on anything and everything. Only at Diamonds Direct. Details and more at diamondsdirect.com. On approved credit.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by QC Kinetics. Relieving your joint pain at QCkinetics.com. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Rundown of Major League Baseball. The Cubs over the Brewers and extras 4-3. The Cardinals beat the Padres 5-2. Tigers over the Twins. Cleveland over the Royals. The Redlegs lost 7-1 to Boston.
Indians, Indianapolis variation. I guess the only one now, right? Over the Omaha Storm Chasers, 13-3 yesterday. NBA tonight, we talked about it earlier, Boston in Golden State. 9 o'clock tip for game number 1. I just think this, Kevin, typically when, I shouldn't say typically, a lot of times we see in best-of-7 series, the road game wins game 1, and it's like, whoa, and then water finds its level. And I do think Boston's going to win the series. But I do think that they could go in and win game 1 tonight because they're kind of in rhythm. Golden State's been off a little bit. Sometimes, now I say that and watch Golden State will come out and hit 14 threes in the first quarter and run away and hide.
You've got Boston winning the whole thing, too.
I do.
Boston in 6, right?
Yep.
You going Tatum for MVP with that?
Yep. Or Marcus Smart.
Gosh, I'm debating who I should go. -4 Golden State, 212.5 the over-under for game 1. We mentioned a little bit earlier, the Rangers take a 1-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals there. The Fever lost last night. And Jake, our guy, is in the car this weekend at Detroit.
Santino Ferrucci will be filling in for Calum Eilert, who broke his hand in his Indy 500 accident. And as a result, Ferrucci gets the call from Juncos Racing.
Do you think our segment maybe pushed him into that call?
They said, actually. Ricardo Juncos probably was like, I was listening to Kevin and Query.
We
and
have
it
some
sounded fun.
Extra tequila in the trailer we need to make sure that we get rid of. So
I wonder if he's bringing his
that.
Paul McCartney bus.
Santino last year at Detroit, he did race 6th and 10th. Again, this resume is much more than just an Indy 500 resume. So Santino Ferrucci will be in the car. Jake heading up to Detroit tomorrow. They're just one race this weekend, correct?
Correct.
Marcus Ericsson, Pato Award were the defending champs last year when they had 2 races there. I saw a stat. It's been 22 years since the 500 winner won the very next week.
Really? 22, so that would have... So what we're saying is what? Eddie Cheat? No. Montoya?
Juan Pablo.
Wow, okay. And that would have been going back in a kart race.
Would that have been at Michigan? I don't know. Has it always followed the Indy 500?
I'd have to look at the 2000 season because that was, he was in kart, not IndyCar. That was, or not. I realize it's all the same now. I'll bet you Jimmie, our intern, would know that.
Elijah,
yes.
When we come back here on Kevin and Query, 93.5, 107.5, we're going to get some Colts conversation. Yesterday, I was up there at West 56th Street. There's one player that certainly stood out to me here, and I think people expected him to make a jump. He's looked pretty good in the
Milwaukee
spring.
Mile, by the way.
There you go. And we'll get into the Kenny Moore update from yesterday as well. We'll do that next here on Kevin and Corey.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan.
Start a new career with a job that keeps your community safe. The Marion County Sheriff, Carrie Forrestal, is hiring detention deputies to work in the brand new Community Justice Center. You'll supervise and guard offenders, making Marion County a better place to live. Starting pay begins at around $40,000 a year with a $5,000 signing bonus. Enjoy great benefits like complete health coverage and pension plan. Start your career as a detention deputy and earn the respect of your community. Apply today at joinmcso.indy.gov.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. Kevin Reinhardt says this family-owned business has a lot of pride in their work.
Danny started the business back in 1986 here in Danville, and we take a lot of pride in the town of Danville with a lot of repeat customers, people that I've known basically all my life. And it's just nice to continue to do the service that they trust for over 30 years.
You can trust Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, 317-745-4526. Reinhardt is your trusted local independent American Standard dealer.
Circle K is America's thirst stop. And yours, especially when the weather gets... and you need to stay refreshed on the go with ice-cold Circle K favorites like freshly ground iced coffee, Froster, Polar Pop Cup, and more. Think of it as the ultimate thirst-quenching, totally rehydrating summer splash zone. When life's go, 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 make us your first stop. Because Circle K is America's thirst stop.
FanDuel Sportsbook is an official betting partner of the 75th NBA Finals. And to celebrate 75 years of the NBA, we're giving all customers a $75 referral bonus. Hey, it's Mark from Kevin and Query. That's right, you'll get $75 and get $75 in site credit when you invite friends to join America's #1 sportsbook. Here's how it works. You invite your friend from the app, make sure they sign up with your referral code, and and as soon as your friend makes any bet, at least $10 or more, you'll get a bonus, and as you will as well. Man, I can't talk today.
You doing okay there, Mark?
We're talking about MJF and AEW on the side, so I got distracted. Offer ends June 2nd when Game 1 of the NBA Finals tips off. Don't miss your chance to bet the finals with a bonus. If you're new to FanDuel, you can sign up with promo code MARK to get free bets after your first bet. That's promo code MARK, M-A-R-C. And again, when your friend signs up and uses your referral link, you and your friend will both get $75 in site credit. Just head over to FanDuel Sportsbook, join your friends, invite your friends, and enjoy $75 in sportsbook credit. 21 and over and present in Indiana. Referred players must wager $10 or more within 28 days after signing up. Limit 10 referrals. Site credit is now withdrawable that expires after 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Sunny day. You'll be on Cloud 9 this summer with a spectacular offer from Diamonds Direct. Right now, for a limited time, you can make any purchase and take advantage of 0% interest financing for 5 years. It's our most popular offer ever. How about that $6,000 designer ring for just $100 a month? Fine jewelry has never been more affordable. But hurry, this is a limited time offer. 5 years, 0 interest on anything and everything. Only at Diamonds Direct. Details and more at diamondsdirect.com. On approved credit.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest. Clogged drain, putting a damper on your day? Call the experts at LD Smith Plumbing. Not only are we water's boss, we are the masters of muck, the sleuths of the sludge. We'll sniff out the clog and snuff it out at the source. Plumbing may not be pretty, but we're pretty darn good at it. Call today to schedule your $83 drain clearing. Guaranteed to work, or it's free.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
A little bit overcast this morning. Good morning to you. My name is Jake Query. Kevin Bowen here as well. Mark Dykton flying the controls. It's Kevin and Query, 93.5, 107.5. The Fan. Kevin, you spent the day again yesterday over at West 56 at the Colts complex. So enlighten me, the 3 storylines that jumped out at you most in terms of these OTAs in order would be what?
Well, that's a good one. Let's start with the most positive development, and that would be yesterday you walk out of the practice field and there's Julian Blackmon, 7 months just over 7 months removed from a torn Achilles. And he's out there going through positional drills, doing some backpedaling, a little bit of lateral stuff. That is a great sign. By all accounts, Jake, if you're doing that on June 1st, you're probably going to be full go for the start of training camp. Maybe monitor his reps from a pitch count standpoint. But I think week 1 for him is a very realistic possibility, which, again, you just never know with Achilles stuff. Last year, Eric Fisher looked to be, in the lineup a little bit sooner than I think a lot of people expected. Now his level of play showed some rust. A guy like Marlon Mack, I don't know if he ever looked fully back from the Achilles. To me, Jake, I just think Julian Blackmon is a fast healer. Remember his rookie year
Some
when
guys are, man.
Came off the torn ACL?
Yeah.
And was in the lineup very early. And not just in the lineup. Like, he brings a level of playmaking and trust that I think is a hard combination to find. Like, some guys are really trustworthy, but they don't take a lot of risks, and therefore they don't bring a lot of the playmaking. Then you got other guys that bring the playmaking, but it's a bit of a risky style, and you kind of got to live with that. I think Blackmon marries that so well together. And I think in this defense, Gus Bradley asks for a lot from his safety group. So if Blackmon can kind of defy some of the Achilles odds, if you will, I think that is huge for this team. So that was probably the best news. The Darius Leonard situation is just weird. Last week he didn't practice due to the ankle. Frank Reich called it a surprise. Yesterday, Reich mentioned how Leonard had a little bit of a lull in his ankle recovery. He's there. He's present. He's not like he's, not showing up and not with their medical team. But the Colts are taking a pause and trying to figure it out. And at this point, an additional surgery, I think he's already had 2 surgeries on that ankle. An additional surgery has not been discussed.
Okay, Darius Leonard tweeted the following 47 minutes ago. Quote, "Y'all folks have a great Thursday. Advice for today, believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. Even salt looks like sugar." So did he know that people are going to be talking about the fact that
you said 47 minutes ago?
Yep.
God, I was really hoping he'd be like, y'all have a great Thursday. Just dialed up Kevin and Query, getting ready to start my day. Embrace the grind.
What are the odds that he's even aware of this program? He's been on it, but what are the odds he's aware of it?
Boy, 1.3%.
I think it's more than that.
2.3.
No, I think Chris Ballard talks about Kevin all the time.
It definitely made me think. And Bowen, every time I freaking read or listen to Bowen, it's like a constant freaking barrage of wideouts.
I do have a wideout update. I do have a wideout update coming in a few minutes. Mark, that was right on cue.
By the way,
Ballard hears that, Leonard hears that, and he's like, who's he talking about? He's like, oh, there's this show.
Darius Leonard yesterday, without doing an OTA yet, but they still ... Never mind. Keep talking. I'm working.
Oh, he did have another tweet?
That was yesterday. So, take that for what it's worth.
I think the issue with Leonard is this. Last year, what we saw, Jake, is a guy that at times looked like you or me playing linebacker, and then 95% of the time, he looked like arguably the best defensive player in the league. It was damn impressive what he did playing on that ankle. What's concerning to me, and I was talking about this with JMV last night, he's not doing anything on the football field right now. So, Jake, what happens if you get to Grand Park and all of a sudden he starts to ramp it up, starts to try and get ready for week 1, and then he has a setback where you feel like surgery is then needed? Now you've taken him out for X amount of games. That, I think, is the worry. You don't want to have surgery just to have surgery, but it's one of those things like when the season ends and you sit down with all parties involved and you say, man, you just gutted it out through 17 games, and we need to try and take, we need to try and get this taken care of right here, right now. So when we get to the spring, there's no more questioning or uncertainty with it. And certainly when you get to training camp, that would be the same issue there. So Leonard has proven he can play through it, but when it becomes nagging again, and if another surgery is needed, that's where the obvious issue pops up for me.
Okay, now in terms of the wideouts, because Chris Ballard wanted to know your thoughts on them.
317-239-1070 if Chris would like to call in, by the way.
What are the odds Chris Ballard's listening right now?
You think he's already in the building?
What time do things get underway?
Did you see by chance...
Chris, if you're listening, 239-1070, or Darius for that matter, either one.
Did you see by chance the hours that the Colts put in for their draft process? Like from a scouting standpoint and watching film on these prospects? It's rather ridiculous in my opinion.
It's insane. I mean, listen.
I believe over a 140-day stretch, Jake, they had 4 days off. So they worked 136 of 140 days. And those days, on the weekdays, it was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And on the weekends, it was 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. I've got a buddy that's a scout for the Pacers. Every time I talk to him, every time I call him, he's in an airport or at a game. Every time. I mean, it's unbelievable. It doesn't matter when it is, what time of year. Hey, where are you? I'll say, where are you? Minot, North Dakota. What are you doing there? There's a tournament I got to watch.
You imagine. Yep, we're breaking down Jack Cohn film for the third time this offseason.
Right.
Ty Freifogel against Minnesota. Here we are.
Yeah. I mean...
the Colts met yesterday, Reich and Ballard, to discuss the addition of another veteran wideout. I said this last week at the start of OTAs. This is the evaluation period right now. Last week was the first week of OTAs. Today, I believe, is OTA 5. There's 9 of them total. And then next week, they'll have that veteran mini camp. This is the opportunity now for... You aren't doing full 11 on 11 yet, but from a passing game standpoint, you are pretty close to full speed. This is the chance for those wideouts in that room to say to Chris Ballard and Frank Reich, guys, you don't need to go sign another wideout.
Right.
And T.Y. Hilton would be in that group of veteran wideouts that they would possibly look into. So the Colts are still discussing that, and we'll see if that comes to fruition at all at the end of this.
One of the clips that you sent out, though, looked like a guy that basically one play does not an offseason make, but there was a play. I thought it was, again, I'm almost embarrassed that I'm critiquing a play that's just like a routine pitch and catch. But, Pierce showed some things. I thought, I wasn't out there, Kevin, but you tell me how he looked. I saw one play where I'm like, whoa, like that's what, like his athleticism was on display.
Like this shouldn't shock really anyone, Jake, but you watch Alec Pierce catch the football, and you watch Jelani Woods, their rookie tight end out of Virginia, catch the football, and one looks incredibly natural, and the other one looks like a guy that hasn't played a lot of tight end. Just a little bit more of a, I hope he catches it, whereas Pierce is like, I'd bet my,
right
401k that he's going to catch that. Just such a natural, fluid athlete, and his background and his family. Again, his dad and mom, both Division I athletes. Both of his brothers are Division I basketball players. That dude was just born with the skill set and athleticism that not a lot of people are born with. Still hasn't taken a ton of first-team reps when we've been out there. Yesterday was a really good day for Matt Ryan and company. I thought Paris Campbell was pretty active. Jake, I have Stephen Holder on in 10 minutes. I'll throw this question to you that I'll also toss Stephen's way. Which wideout catches the second most balls for the Colts this season? I think we all assume Michael Pittman, of course, will catch the most. Who would you say of the wideouts catches the second most on this team?
T.Y. Hilton. Now, that's a dumb answer by me because he's not even guaranteed to be there. But I think he will be, and I think that's who it'll be. Pierce is probably the safe answer here, right? But I think it takes receivers longer to get going than other positions.
Campbell?
It almost feels like T.Y. Hilton's more of a certainty to be on the field than Paris Campbell at this point.
Well, Paul the Mailman has him for Comeback Player of the Year yesterday.
Do you know, okay.
I've got a different name if you don't mind me throwing in there. I'm going to go with Ashton Doolin.
Yeah, that's not a terrible call, yeah. Ashton Doolin is the one, Kevin, that last year when his number was called, I thought he did a nice job of responding, right?
Right. Now,
he showed that he's ready to make a step.
I think that's kind of where we're at with him. You can make cases for everybody. Hilton, or insert your veteran wideout. I think is a name certainly to watch, but yeah, I will go with Doolin on that.
Now,
although I think Nyheim Hines will catch the second most balls if you're going outside of the wideout room.
The famous quote about Wayne Gretzky, and it's probably been embellished or attributed to him, even whether or not he said it, I don't know. But the famous quote about Wayne Gretzky, and I'm paraphrasing, when he was asked about being, such a great assist player in the NHL, the all-time assist leader in the NHL, was he of course once said, I don't go to where, or a great scorer, I guess I should say. He was asked about it, and he said, I don't go where the puck is, I go where the puck is going. In football terms...
Ooh, that's juicy.
What I think Matt Ryan does is this, and you tell me if you saw anything that adds credence to this. When Peyton Manning, and yes, he is the gold standard by which things are judged in Indianapolis. When Peyton Manning was the quarterback of the Colts, receivers would say, listen, I knew when I went out to make my route that as soon as I broke and turned, the ball was going to be there. No matter what, Peyton Manning had an unbelievable ability to throw the football, not where the receiver was, but where he was going. And it was a timing thing where he just had an incredible ability to, when he was releasing the ball, Peyton Manning had a trust that receiver, that's where it was going to be, so that when they turned, boom, it was right there. I don't know that the Colts, now with Luck, they probably had that. Luck had a great touch. He had a great arm. I don't know that, I can't say that Luck didn't have this. I don't think Carson Wentz did. And that is...
I do think Rivers had a little bit of it.
Yeah, the incredible ability, the timing factor of putting the football right where it needed to be at the exact precise moment for the receiver to make the catch. Matt Ryan seems like he has that intangible.
Yeah, the phrase of throwing guys open. You can't wait till they're open to throw the ball.
Correct.
You've got to throw it when it might look a little 50-50, and you are relying on your guy. To your point, Jake, you said trust. You're trusting your guy to create it 70-30 or whatever advantage. There was a ball yesterday. It's funny that you say that. There's a ball yesterday down the seam to Michael Pittman where I'm watching Ryan throw it, and when he throws it, Pittman has 11 facing Matt Ryan, and I mean his back. And all of a sudden, Pittman turns around, and it is one of those like, oh my gosh, the ball's right here. Pittman did a great job of catching it and continuing to run down the middle of the field. I feel like there is that more with Matt Ryan of not only can he, again, throw guys open, but Jake, I just see a QB that is pretty decisive through his progressions of I can eliminate certain guys based off what I think the coverage is going to be. And then when I do try and go read 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Whereas Wentz, I think, goes a little bit slower at times, and you miss some opportunities to make plays. So, again, it's still 7-on-7. They are going full speed for what it's worth. But I thought yesterday, a really strong day from Matt Ryan in that department.
I asked a question last night on Twitter that to me has a very clear and obvious number one answer. And people were throwing in another very common answer that surprised me. Are you ready for this, Kevin?
I am. I do just want to quickly mention, Jake, there was Austrian TV there yesterday, and for a second I thought it was you.
When is the lineman from Central Michigan, when can he be interviewed?
That honestly sounds a little bit
really
similar to that. Yeah, they were there for Mr. Ryman, but they're actually based in D.C., and whatever the big Austrian story here is in the States, no matter what it is, they are the duo that reports on the story. So Bernard Ryman would be that.
As they were leaving, did they say, "We'll be back"? Because that's what we had him say on the radio, right?
Do we have that clip, Mark?
Yeah, let me find it. Hold on a second.
So here's my question.
Yeah, well, I briefly saw this. Something to do with what state to visit
of the 48 U.S. I mean, so we're excluding Alaska and Hawaii here, okay? If you surveyed every living American right now and had them list what states they have been in, and I'm counting drive-through, whatever, the states they've been in, which of the 48 contiguous United States would have the least representation? Like, in other words, what is the one that has been visited by the fewest number of non-residents of that state?
Oh, gosh.
To me, it is such a clear, definitive, indisputable number one answer. I did nothing to bias people's answers. But there was another state that people started mentioning, and I'm like, what?
Can I go with 3?
Correct. Okay, go ahead. Yes, you may.
Actually, 2.
Okay.
I'll go with... Check that. I'm going to go 3. North Dakota.
Okay.
Vermont and Rhode Island.
Okay, now, a lot of people said Delaware. Delaware was like the most common answer, and I'm like, I don't think that you can include any of the New England states for this reason.
What about Rhode Island?
But here's the thing. If you do, and I'm not saying everybody does this, but it is done. First off, Rhode Island, there are a lot of people probably that go to Boston that fly into Providence to get to Boston. It's faster. They're going to go to a Patriots game. They fly into Providence first. Or if you drive like the Eastern Seaboard, there are all of those states, at some point you would have reason to drive through them. Like if you were in New York City and you wanted to get to Boston, you would go up through, like you'd have to go through Connecticut and I think part of Rhode Island.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
And then Maine is a huge tourism state. Huge tourism state. There are people that they go to Maine for the summer for a week, or they go to get lobster in Maine, and they would fly into, like, say, Boston and then drive up through New Hampshire.
That's exactly how we did it.
North Dakota and Vermont.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
North Dakota. Okay, Vermont. Again, I'm going to disagree a little bit on Vermont because there's a lot of ski tourism there too. I'm not, I mean, it would certainly be up there, no doubt. But to me, it's North Dakota because there would be no reason that you would drive through North Dakota. Like, if you're in North Dakota, it's because you had a destination of North Dakota. Now, what destination would there be in North Dakota? The Roger Maris Museum, which is a kiosk in the mall?
And Mount Rushmore is located where in South Dakota? But, like, where is it?
The very far southwestern corner of it.
It's not even like it's in the northern part of the state, which for some reason you
Mount
would end up
Rushmore
in.
is literally 8 miles across, like, the
Iowa, Nebraska.
The Wyoming-Nebraska border. It's right down in the bottom left corner.
Were people saying something different?
Tons of people said Delaware. They're like, well, it'd be Delaware because it's so small. And I'm like, but Delaware is like right on the other side of Philly.
Right. And it's like in between New Jersey and the D.C. area. Like,
correct. It's just in that metroplex. If you're driving from D.C. to, you have to go right through it. I mean.
Why did this pop into your brain?
How long have you known me now?
I'm trying to find out the why. Like, we see the actions, but I'm more curious about, I'm trying to get more in depth with you.
This is my variation. This is my version of watching the backup quarterback for the Colts play pitch and catch in June. You know what I mean? Like, we all have our thing, right?
Well, I'm doing it for a work standpoint. You're doing it from
brand awareness. I'm generating conversation on Twitter. I get people hooked into that, and then right when they're starting to look at it, I say, you know what? This is the kind of conversation you can get for our night at the Fan Cave. Come out, buy a ticket, get 2 free drinks, have a beer, have some Larceny bourbon, hang out with us. You get to listen to us discuss this kind of riveting conversation, and then Dan will talk basketball, and JMV will talk about the Colts or pop culture or music, and you can hang out and get pictures and
night before the
have
NBA
a beer.
draft.
That's right. We'll talk about the NBA draft too.
Great.
I'm generating conversation.
And we don't have any radio restrictions. We can go blue, I heard.
Great.
We can be a little potty mouth.
Well, Santino Ferrucci did that earlier in the week with us, Mark. It's a great Father's Day gift as well. Night in the Fan Cave. You can find those tickets on our website.
It's just like the night with WIBC, except for they don't go the blue side, right?
Oh, that was good.
Okay.
Did you do a Twitter?
Ryman.
Did you do a Twitter
I'll be
poll?
back.
I didn't do a Twitter poll. I just asked the question. And Delaware was getting like a ton of votes. And I'm like, it's got to be North Dakota. People are saying Idaho. And I'm like, no, Idaho, like now, Boise's like this exploding area.
Stephen Holder joins us next here. Kevin and Query on a Thursday.
After 2 long years in the dark, it was good to finally step back into the bright Indiana sunshine.
Drivers, start your engine.
To watch the winner kiss the yard of bricks.
Indianapolis 500 roars into turn
Sends it plowed into the wall.
Oh, they're going to throw a red flag.
Marcus Erickson, twin checkers. He has achieved racing immortality.
Congratulations.
Marcus Erickson is a champion in Indy.
From 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
At Family Dollar, we know you want more to enjoy your summer. Delight your family with our great assortment of ice cream and frozen treats. Family Dollar, helping you do more.
Let's go to Vegas, Colts fans, with BullseyeEventGroup.com. Private air charter and a direct flight with a 2-night weekend travel package at Caesars Palace. It's Vegas, baby. Get your spot now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
Celebrate Sullivan Hardware and Garden's 68th anniversary this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with store-wide savings. Hey, Pat Sullivan here. What began with nuts and bolts has grown to include garden centers, patio furniture, grills, Allisonville Home and Garden by Sullivan and Fishers, which will also be celebrating. Wouldn't you just love a big green egg? During our 68th anniversary, we'll include, yeah, you guessed it, $68 in accessories free. Check out the specials on our patio furniture, like all-weather wicker, Berlin Gardens poly, cast aluminum, teak, and more. We specialize in excellent quality mid-price patio furniture, all sale priced at 30% off. Pick up your anniversary balloon at the register as everyone wins with savings from 10 to, yes, 68% off all gift and garden merchandise. Shop, play, experience. Spring with Sullivan's. 71st and Keystone, 49th and Penn, Cicero, and Allisonville Home and Garden by Sullivan in Fishers.
Spectrum is America's leading internet provider, delivering ultra-fast gig speeds you need on the high-performance network you want. And Spectrum's advanced home Wi-Fi is security made simple, automatically blocking outside threats, along with 99.9% network reliability. So no matter what you do online, you can do it faster, safer, and more reliably with Spectrum Internet. Get 200 megabits per second for only $49.99 a month. Visit Spectrum.com today for details. Based on internet subscribers among top internet service providers. Restrictions apply.
Helzberg Diamonds presents The Guy Who Got It Right. Tim needed an engagement ring. He did research, listened to hints from his fiance's friends.
She wants a lab-grown, oval cut, and white gold with a halo.
And he went to Helzberg Diamonds. At Helzberg, Tim found an incredible selection of high-quality, lab-grown, and natural diamonds. He also found the ring she really wanted.
Nailed it. She is gonna freak.
Be like Tim. Find the ring of her dreams at a Helzberg near you or at Helzberg.com. Ask now about special financing offers.
We're the most active season of the year right now, but if you have joint pain, you can't live like you want to. Whether it's heading to the zoo, walking on the canal, attending an Indians game, hip pain, knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, it sucks the fun out of living. I'm Kevin Bowen, and I've got some fantastic news for you, though. QC Kinetics is helping the people get the fun back with advanced regenerative treatments from local professionals right here in Indy, locations in Eagle Creek and Greenwood. We're talking regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically a growth factors with healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. It's exciting. In-office, non-surgical treatment can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints, giving you real, lasting relief from pain. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, all-natural options, and the patient satisfaction reports are incredible. Yes, you can get real relief from pain with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. So call QC Kinetics 463-235-7160. Again, locations in Eagle Creek and Greenwood.
Realizing Geico is your one-stop shop for all your insurance needs is like realizing you can just toss the whole measuring cup into the washer so it won't get gunked up with laundry detergent.
I guess it doesn't work for coffee mugs, huh?
It's something that's been right in front of you this whole time, like how Geico offers 24/7 emergency roadside service to help you when you need it most. Or how athletic wristbands aren't for your wrists, they're for wiping sweat off your forehead.
Great. So, what are headbands for?
80s night at the dance club. Woo!
It's something you can't believe you never realized before, like how Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance, with even more ways to save when you add boat, motorcycle, and RV insurance. Or how a pony is its own animal and not just a baby horse.
So, what's a baby pony called?
Getting more ways to save. It's just one of the many reasons to switch to Geico. They're all right there in front of you.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis.
Hey, join Charlie and Eddie today. That's right, Charlie Clifford from Wish TV is going to join Eddie Garrison. I am out. It's my daughter's birthday. Enjoy Charlie today.
It's It's Kevin and Query.
We'll have some classes at times.
Hey, we're calling the plays, all right?
We got to run the ball.
When we pass, block. We'll run the ball.
Can we run it down there?
This play.
We run it down.
Yeah, Jeff. Okay, so we will. All right, when we call pass plays, block.
On 93.5.
Boom, baby.
And 107.5. The Fan.
8 o'clock hour here on Kevin and Query. We talked a good amount of Colts last segment, a topic we did not discuss, but is certainly relevant and might add another layer to it next week, is Kenny Moore, currently not participating. Yesterday, not even in attendance at the Colts' still voluntary part of the offseason program. And to get more on that, our next guest is on the Payless Liquors hotline. He is Stephen Holder from The Athletic. Stephen, again, part of me thinks just deadlines will spur action, and this won't necessarily be a story come August 2nd, but as of now, it is a story. Was yesterday another step in the this is my stance point of view, if you will, from Kenny Moore, and the fact that we saw him there last Wednesday? Yesterday, he was not in attendance.
I think a little bit, yes. Last week, he definitely, I think, made an effort to be seen. I don't know if being seen by media was necessarily intentional or not, but certainly he was there, he was present, and it seemed more cordial. I think not being there at all, it is the next step. It's the only step he can take, right, is to, sort of withhold his services, so to speak. They are voluntary, but he's withholding his voluntary service at the moment, which is, not something he has previously done. He's always there. So it's noticed, I'm sure. I think next week would represent, a little bit of a ratcheting up, because now you're subject to fines when it's mandatory. Now, whether they actually go through with the fines is another story, right? And the fines for minicamp are nothing compared to the fines that would be assessed or could be assessed for training camp. So not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think, yes, Kenny Moore is taking the only step that he can right now, which is to not show up.
Fine-wise, Steven, I believe it's around $90,000 if he were to miss all 3 days next week. Is that like a locked-in fine, or is that something that the team has to kind of carry out, if you will?
Yeah, my understanding of how that works is you're subject to the fine, meaning that's the maximum they're allowed to assess. They don't have to assess the fine, and oftentimes that doesn't happen. I believe it was you and I and some others talking about this yesterday. For example, who was the last player to really, who was the last player a team really put the screws to like this? I can't really recall one. It generally gets taken care of later. I think, Ezekiel Elliott, we talked about him, for example, holding out a few years ago. I believe that was in training camp, and he was assessing substantial fines because this was day after day after day. He ended up getting a contract extension. They agreed to a contract, and they just kind of swept it under the rug. So whether that happens here, though, to be clear, I don't think – I'm not suggesting Kenny Moore is not showing up for training camp. I have no idea. And I know this is not what you asked me, but if and when we get to the fall, or the start of training camp, and nothing has happened, I don't know. I still don't feel optimistic that something's going to get done here. I think the Colts are pretty dug in from everything I've been told. They're pretty dug in on this. They do not want to set a precedent.
Have the Colts in the Kenny Moore situation in any way, shape, or form, Stephen, showed their hand to him a little bit too much? In other words, is there a little bit of, and I know he's played well and he's a popular guy and a likable guy, et cetera, but have the Colts kind of created this situation for themselves by last year, their consistent public admiration for him and adulation of him? Did that all of a sudden kind of take leverage away from themselves in terms of this potential issue?
No, I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, the team still has the upper hand in these situations, no matter what they've said publicly. You know, we can trot those quotes out, and we can.
Actually, I shouldn't have said upper hand as much as. Is it possible that partially created it? Because if you're Kenny Moore and they're constantly patting you on the back and talking about how you're the centerpiece, it's like, well, then pay me like one.
Gotcha. Yeah. There's possibly some of that. I do think you're onto something. I mean, certainly if you're Kenny Moore's agent, you've noticed, right? you have certainly noticed, and I think to more specifically, they have talked about how important he is to the defense in particular, and how his role is very unique, and the things that he specifically does, right? All of those things. I mean, if you're the agent, you've got a notepad and you're jotting all of that down. You know, it's like, all right, got it. You know, so there's possibly some truth to that, and how much that has played a role in this, it's hard to say. But I do think from Kenny Moore's perspective and from his camp's perspective, yeah, I would absolutely think it matters. And I think when you couple that with what happens around the league, you look at what some of your counterparts are making in other cities. Yeah, when you put all that together and you shake it up, you put that in a box and shake it up, you're probably going to walk away from that feeling like, yeah, you know what, I should be paid more. So I get it.
He's Stephen Holder from The Athletic, and I do want to move on, Stephen, but one more on the Kenny front. Do you think strictly the Colts drawing a line in the sand has to do with precedent and just kind of a scared factor of if we budge here, if we show our backbone is a little bit soft, what does that do to future contract issues within that locker room?
I think it's largely about that, yes. And I don't even want to suggest they're scared as much as it's a business position.
Kind of a slippery slope if you go down that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, they want to have a situation where, I mean, no one has said this per se. This is just my interpretation of it. They want to have a situation where they have sort of they have control of the situation more so than not. And what I mean by that is they can sort of foresee and schedule when these contracts are going to have to be dealt with and things of that nature. You know, if you get off schedule, and the schedule is obviously vague, right? It's not set in stone. You know, all right, this year we got to do this guy, next year we got to do that guy, et cetera, right? You sort of do plot that out in your head, right? With your front office, cap people, you sit down and you talk about these things well in advance. And I would imagine they didn't have Kenny Moore on the docket for this year, right? So then that throws off your projections and your ability to kind of keep the trains moving. So just purely from the team's perspective, yeah, that is a big deal, and I think the precedent there could throw things off for them. So that is a very, very big deal for them, yes.
Stephen, The Wire came out 20 years ago today. You've seen The Wire, correct?
This should be a holiday. Well, so actually, I've just recently, I don't know if we talked about this on this show. Maybe it was JMV. I've just recently rewatched The Wire.
It's probably just as good, isn't it?
It's even better the second time. This is only the second time, which is weird, but yeah, it's even better the second time.
And it's interesting because there are very few things in it that date the show other than the technology, because they're trying to wiretap and, the burner phones, and there's, they are dealing with texting for the first time. They're like, what is this? And those are the only two things that really date it. But question for you is, who is the best character on The Wire?
Oh, man, that's hard. Now, this is not the biggest role necessarily, but I've always kind of been a little partial to Snoop, just because.
So, for those unfamiliar with the show, Stephen, not to cut you off, but for those unfamiliar with the show, Snoop is the show is in the city of Baltimore. It's about a variation of number of things, including the gang activity or drug trafficking in Baltimore. Snoop is somebody who is very authentically Baltimore at the core, who is a good person, but is kind of sucked into the antics of their upbringing. But overall is a very likable character despite her flaws.
Despite being basically a contract killer. Yeah.
Correct. So that said, Snoop is a critical part of the series despite not being necessarily a central figure.
Yes.
Aside from being the killing part, the Snoop of the Colts is who? A player that this year is going to be a central part of the storyline despite not necessarily at any point being somebody written in as a main character.
Wow. Okay. What would the question have been if I would have said McNulty? Because I was thinking about that. Okay. Well, anyway, this is good. This is good. And it's making me think.
McNulty to me is Chris Ballard. Seems like he's got it all together, but I feel like there's another shoe falling at any moment. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Good one. Snoop, I like this question, and I'm struggling. So this is probably not a perfect answer, but I think Nyheim Hines. And here's the deal, right? He plays running back. He is never going to be the number one running back so long as Jonathan Taylor has two legs, right? But he can have an absolute huge impact on this team, and if things go the way they intend, he will have a huge impact. So it's kind of a unique role. I think that he can kind of be, I don't want to say less is more type of guy, but a little bit of that. You know what I mean? Like he's a guy who can make him really count. Snoop had a really high body count on the wire.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
I'm not giving up
being a regular.
Well, I'm not giving up spoilers here because it's been 20 years. So if you haven't seen it by now, but there's a popular character on the show named Wallace, who is a beloved character as a young person. Unfortunately, Wallace doesn't make it into season number 3. Is Rodrigo Blankenship the Wallace of the Colts?
Ooh, so I can't say that yet. I cannot say that yet. However, there is a scenario where he would be, because I do think we're going to see a legitimate kicking competition. You cannot overlook what happened last year. It absolutely happened. Rodrigo Blankenship gets hurt. He gets better, and they still tell him, we'll call you when we need you. What other starter gets that kind of treatment? And treatment's the wrong word, but what other starter is handled in that manner? If you unless the person replacing you is just that good, right? That does happen from time to time, but generally, unless the person just purely outperforms you, you get your job back, right? In this case, they kind of just said, "Yeah, we're fine." So that to me doesn't say job security at all. So I think it's a fair question, and TBD. We will see.
Steven, do you think it's odd at all? You go back to what Chris Ballard said to us in January of, we like Paris Campbell, but we can't act like he's number 2 or number 3 on the depth chart. Well, if you're making a depth chart right now, Paris Campbell is definitely number 2 or number 3 at the wideout depth chart. Do you think that's odd at all, that's how it unfolded of the words? Honestly, the Colts are backing Paris Campbell even more with their actions. They've always spoken highly of him, but their actions have even gone a step above what they previously said.
Yeah, it's a conundrum, frankly. I've been thinking about this. I was thinking about it watching practice yesterday. It's just what you said. If they had to play a game today, if the Colts had to go out there and kick it off today against some team, Paris Campbell's getting the football, man. And he should. And I don't know how you can pretend that's not a reality. It is a reality. But then we also have another reality, which is he's never been able to stay on the field. So I understand. Chris Ballard's right. Yeah, we can't count on him until he proves we can count on him. On the other hand, you can't ignore him either because he's got a lot of talent. So it's a conundrum, and there is no real perfect answer. I think they're handling it the only way they can, which is when he's out there, and we'll just have to have others ready to play their part in case he's not out there. I don't know what else you could do, but it's not like if you can just say, maybe we'll play him, maybe we won't. If he's healthy, you have to play that guy. He's good. So I don't know. I just don't know how else you look at it. It's got to be frustrating because you'd love to just make him a huge part of your offense, but in your deep inside, in the back of your head, you're thinking, maybe we can't lean on this guy too much, So I don't know what you do.
Stephen, before we let you go, amidst all the Kenny Moore stuff, a guy that I just continue to be impressed by is Isaiah Rodgers. I just feel like every time the ball is thrown his way, he is in position, no panic, makes a play on the ball, and it's oftentimes an incompletion.
Yeah, so there's two things with Isaiah Rodgers. First of all, I agree wholeheartedly. I think he's one of the more underrated guys on this team, certainly on the defense. And there's two things happening here. So speed and athleticism. Those two things allow you to have that calm that you talk about. And so when you are beat or someone has a step on you, it forces you to not have to grab a guy or something like that because you have closing speed. I was always a defender of Rock Ya-Sin because I thought he was overall a solid player. But one of the reasons that he definitely was grabby, so to speak, if that's a word, I think is the lack of top-end speed. He never had that. And I think he'll be fine in Las Vegas, and he'll be an effective player. But his lack of top-end speed did, I think, affect him, when he kind of got in inadvantageous or disadvantageous, is that the word? Disadvantageous position because he panicked a little bit, right? Isaiah Rodgers won't panic because he knows, all right, well, I run low 4.3 40, and I'm going to be fine. And then he's just a great athlete, so that allows him to make those plays on the ball that other guys aren't able to always make. So it also allows him, by the way, to make up for the fact that he's like 5'2". He's not. He's like 5'10", but he's not the biggest guy, right? So I like him a lot, and I think he has all kinds of potential to grow this year, and we'll see what happens. I think they're going to take advantage of that. If you're a new defense coordinator like Gus Bradley, you come in and you see his flashes the last couple of years, you have to be excited about that and want to tap into that.
I'm embarrassed to have to ask this because I'm totally having a brain fade. Who was the defensive tackle for Danico Autry that's in Tennessee now, right?
Yes, correct.
Danico Autry is the D'Angelo of the Colts. Underrated, never should have let him go early.
Do I need to be binging The Wire here pretty soon?
Yeah, I think otherwise you just wasted 10 minutes of your life because you have no idea what we're talking about.
I was like, McNulty there?
Well, I realized as we were getting into the depths of the conversation, Stephen, that most of our listeners probably have no idea what we're talking about, which is not that, and that is actually disadvantageous for what we're trying to achieve. So right. I felt like we needed to elaborate, but it is unequivocally, without question, for those listening that have not seen it, it is the greatest television show in the history of the platform.
Should have gone over to Steven's house when he rewatched it the other week.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I got to do something with my offseason.
Steven and I went to a Pacer game together, and that fulfilled his query obligation for the year. God, right, Steven?
Pray for you. Boy, 3 hours you'll never get back, Steven.
I'll be up for another in the fall. Call me.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good.
See you guys.
Stephen Older right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. We're going to have Mike Locksley join us at the top of the hour.
Can I ask him about The Wire?
Well, boy, he would have some relevance, right, in his own backyard there.
Yeah, it's in Baltimore.
He's going to join us, talk about Nick Cross, the rookie safety out of Maryland. We've been trying to get him on, just kind of busy schedules over the past couple of weeks there, but looking forward to that conversation. Scott Agness coming up here in about 5 minutes. Let's hit a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by QC Kinetics, relieving your joint pain at QCkinetics.com on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Jake, yesterday we talked about the good injury news, and that was on the Julian Blackmon front. He was on the practice field doing positional drills, which 7 months removed from a torn Achilles was pretty impressive. We saw as a rookie, he was a fast healer with that torn ACL. It looks like he's going to be a fast healer again with his torn Achilles. Julian Blackmon yesterday on that.
No, I think I proved that coming in as a rookie, in terms of, being really good at rehabbing, making sure that I'm listening to the trainers, the coaches, and, staying mentally in it. I think that was the biggest thing for me. And that's catapulted me in a way to rehab properly and, effectively.
Jake, I think we know Julian Blackmon's shown he's a pretty good player in this league. I think in the Gus Bradley defense with more of an emphasis on the safeties, I think he's going to be a critical piece.
Great player. I mean, he's a great player, and to your point, hey, man, what a bonus. There are certain guys like that. I'm trying to think of other guys they've had in the past that they just healed faster, you know what I mean, than other people. So we'll see. But he's a great player. It'd be a huge bonus for him if he's healthy for the year.
Yesterday in Major League Baseball, the Redlegs fall in Fenway 7-1. Cubs over the Brewers in 10. Cardinals beat the Padres. Cardinals continue to play pretty good ball. Tigers beat the Twins. White Sox lose to the Blue Jays. Man, the White Sox have been so disappointing this season.
They're hurt, Kevin. They're hurt.
And the Guardians beat the Royals 4-0. You said the Indians beat the Storm Chasers?
They did, 13-3, by the way. Omaha came here looking for a storm, and guess what? Was it in Omaha? I don't know. They were looking for a storm.
I believe it was in Omaha.
They ran into a cyclone known as Indians. Mark is shaking his head. What are you looking at, Mark? Mark, we got a new guy learning the board. You can go
Indians
get
have Brian Wilkes in the 3-hole last night, and Angela Buckman stealing bases.
That's right.
Chuck Lofton just moving runners over.
He's mentioning wire characters. Like, where do the Indians play last night? So easy to find out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's spend 10 minutes on the wire, but we're not going to worry about where the Indians are playing.
Well, I noticed on the score they were the top one. That means because my dad
Game 1
taught me
tonight
when I
at
was
the
a
NBA
kid.
Finals. I think you asked me earlier
Top is visitor.
where the game 1 was going to be played. Do you remember what I said?
It is in Golden State, right?
Yes, 9 o'clock tip.
Boston's going to win Game 1.
On ABC, Boston a 4-point underdog here in Game 1. Again, we talked about it earlier. Golden State has not lost a game at home in the playoffs. They've only lost 4 games total in their 3 series. Boston is coming off back-to-back 7-game series. So
they're in rhythm.
That fine balance of, yes, not having a long layoff like Golden State has had, but how much do they have left in the tank? Hopefully it'll live up to, I think, a lot of anticipation with this series.
Fever last night on the short end, by the way, speaking of basketball, losing at New York, 87-74. Fever now 3-9. Sunday, they are in Atlanta, taking on the Dream. That is a 3 o'clock start.
Jake, our guy's going to be in the car this weekend for Juncos Racing?
That is correct. Santino Ferrucci will be filling in for the injured Callum Ilott, who the British rookie... it seems I hurt my hand. What? Now what? Fractured his hand in the Indianapolis 500.
Guy's a broken hand, and now you're trying to imitate him. He's hurt.
He is a nice guy. So Ferrucci gets the call, but again, he's no stranger to Detroit. 2 top 10s last year and a doubleheader in Detroit. Just a race on Sunday in Belle Isle for Santino Ferrucci for Juncos Racing.
Jake heads up to that. Green flag drops after 3 o'clock, right? Kind of a late race.
That is
Sunday.
correct. 3 o'clock coverage right here on this radio station.
He's Jake Corey. I'm Kevin Bowen. Mark Dykton, as always. And we have James on the board as well right now, helping us out. Scott Agness next here, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Let's go to Vegas, Colts fans, with BullseyeEventGroup.com. Private air charter and a direct flight with a 2-night weekend travel package at Caesars Palace. It's Vegas, baby. Get your spot now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
Skip the long lines and high cost at the banks and get pre-approved today for your next home purchase or a refinance at thehomeloanexpert.com. NMLS number 1326241.
The Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Indiana State Fairgrounds for sporting, hunting, and personal protection. Visit the Indy 1500 Gun Show.
Have you ever seen the jewelers in action at Shane Company? You can watch us setting diamonds, soldering gold, engraving metal, and bringing heirloom jewelry back to life. I'm one of our master jewelers. One of the great things about Shane Company is that it's a family business with family values like honesty, integrity, and hard work. These values show up in our jeweler workshop too. Our attention to detail, the structure of our jewelry, the quality of the stones we set, and the time we put into each piece. Feel free to consult with us on how to personalize your jewelry. Tell us what your vision is and we can help you refine it. We can give you expert advice and suggestions. When visiting Shane Company, not only will you see a beautiful selection of jewelry, but you will see us in the jeweler workshop taking care of your jewelry and taking pride in our work. We're passionate about what we do. We love creating things that are so meaningful in someone's life. A piece of jewelry that becomes a symbol of their love.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and shaneco.com.
Sip and save at Circle K with our great new drink subscription. Join Sip and Save today and enjoy 1 drink a day every day for just $5.99 a month. Enjoy your favorite Circle K ice cold fountain drink Froster, or freshly ground coffee every day. That's 30 drinks a month for only $5.99. So sip and save at Circle K. Sign up in-store or at CircleK.com. Circle K. Take it easy.
Hey, it's JMV. Sometimes accidents happen. Truck wrecks, car wrecks, motorcycle wrecks that just shouldn't have happened. It can mean dealing with a lot of pain, broken bones, surgeries, PT, extended medical care, even death. All of which can also add up to catastrophic harm. That's where personal injury attorney John McLaughlin at Parr Ritchie can help. John is recognized in Indiana Super Lawyer magazine as an injury attorney. It's worth a free call to see if John can help you. 317-269-2509 or visit parrinjury.com. That's PARR injury.com.
It's time for the Crest Point Real Estate Market Minute.
It's Terry Stacy. With us is Patrick Keller, managing broker and owner of Crest Point Real Estate, Indy's real estate experts. Hello, Patrick.
Hey, Terry. This week I'd like to share with you a really, what I think, spot-on economist prediction for our housing market's going to look like. Obviously, our housing market was thrust into hyperdrive a couple years ago when interest rates got historically low, but they think for the rest of 2022, the number of homes sold will probably be down about 10% compared to last year. However, economists do not anticipate that housing prices will fall nationwide, but the price hikes and the multiple offers will probably decline as demand drops a bit. Home builders are also getting a little bit spooked in the slowdown in home demand, so they will probably scale down their production plans. And then finally, all of this comes to a head when it's low inventory again, and we might see another seller's market.
If you have questions for Patrick, go to patrickkeller.realtor.
Well, another 500 is in the books, so let's look at the June checklist. Colts draft? Check. Pacers didn't make the playoffs? Check. The race is over? Check. Now back to the speculation, conjecture, and rumors.
I hear Shade and Sean. I've never seen the guy other than YouTube clips.
With the 6th pick, the Indiana Pacers select.
Find out June 23rd with the NBA Draft on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
29 minutes before the hour, you just heard the promo there. We will be talking plenty of Pacers upcoming with the NBA Draft, including, as a matter of fact, the night before the NBA Draft for our night at the Fan Cave. That is going to be at the Indiana Historical Society. Your chance to come out, make your prediction to us if you'd like. You can do that while we're having a couple of drinks, hanging out in the Fan Cave at the Historical Society. We will be there. That means Kevin, Mark, myself, also JMV, Dan Dockich. We will be doing a combination of each individually as a show, getting up on stage to try to entertain. And then at the end, a round table, but more
all
so
and most
importantly, I think at the end, all of us together. Yeah.
Boy, that should be juicy.
And then at the end and before it, most importantly, just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
Having a drink, having snacks, and
having a beer at maybe a different hour than last Friday at Card Day.
Shooting the bull.
Yeah, we had a caller ask if he could smoke some ganja. Actually, his name was Mark. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and
Can I smoke weed in there?
I believe we told him if you do it discreetly,
That was Kevin's endorsement.
we won't tell, right? I mean,
Really? Okay. Well, I don't know. Sure.
I don't know the Historical Society's rules, but
by the way,
or the state's rules. I probably should go there first.
Scott Agness is going to join us here. As a matter of fact, we have Scott now, but I wanted to throw this at you guys. Matter of fact, I'm going to give a trivia question for when Mark gets back on the headset. Mark, you can mull this over. I decided that I need to follow a soccer club, and there is this one club that their motto is "No one likes us, we don't care." And I thought, well, I'm on board with these guys. So I went on because I thought it'd be fun to buy a hat, even though I'm not a soccer fan. And you know, all the teams have their kit is nothing more than a billboard, right? Mm-hmm. So, Mark, you got 10 minutes to figure out who's the billboard for this particular team that was relegated like 3 years ago and isn't even in the Premier League. They're in the G League of soccer.
Isn't there a Rangers soccer team that he probably is like a fan of after expressing his Rangers fandom earlier?
They can't get to the game.
It's funny you mentioned that. The Rangers, that's the Bushwhack Rangers are that's my cricket team in Australia that I've adopted.
Scott's been on the line for about 20 minutes now.
Joining us now, and I'm sure thrilled to be doing so, Scott Agness is with Fieldhouse Files, NBA Draft upcoming. Scott, if you had to guess, the Pacers will go with a name that will seem a conservative pick, or they're going to take a leap of faith and try to go high risk, high reward with somebody?
Yeah, I think right now, Jake, I tend to believe it'll be a guy that will not surprise you at all. That's not a huge, bold choice by them. That's just kind of right on par of where they're slotted.
Scott, knowing how, and Jake and I debated a little bit of this yesterday, just knowing Kevin Pritchard as well as you do, and those other decision makers in that building, if they're sitting around a boardroom and they're around a board table saying, all right, we either need to take the surest thing possible or we need to take the biggest swing possible, what do you think is most likely as a consensus in that room?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think ultimately, I think there's a lot of conversations about do you add to your draft personnel? Can you add another pick versus can you get? Because you only get, like you've said, you only get a swing like this not very often. But I think they like where they're at right now. But if they could get some additional value here, in leading up to the draft, we've seen this team for several years do 2 draft trades to acquire starters. So that wouldn't surprise me. Now, let's just say they are where they are right now. I think it's more likely than not they'll go with a different than last year and go with a younger, higher upside type guy. Whereas Chris Duarte, you knew exactly what he was, and that tends to be what they do. However, that was 13th. This is 6th. So you have more of an opportunity to make more of a swing. And when you're drafting that high, there's a lot more open for there's a lot more room for you to get a guy outside of Keegan Murray. Most of them do feel like more of upside type guys, although Keegan was talking at the draft where that's one thing he was trying to shove off a little bit, the misnomer that he is who he is right now and that's it.
Scott Agness from Fieldhouse Files, he's with us here on Kevin and Query, joins us every Thursday. Scott, 3 weeks from tonight is the draft. Free agency doesn't start. Is it July 1? Is that the start of free agency? I guess, I don't know, just maybe curious to me, maybe not to many others. Why does the NBA do it like that? The NFL does free agency a full month before the draft. Do you know why the NBA does the draft first and then free agency? Because I'm thinking, boy, you don't have a decision on Jalen Smith. Extension-wise for Turner, to me, T.J. Warren is only brought back as kind of a luxury, but why does the NBA do it in a reverse manner?
I wish I knew the exact reason, but I do know it's been proposed by several different people in the past to consider reversing them a little bit because you're right. You would like to have a better understanding of your roster before you go into the draft, where it's usually more futuristic. It's more 2 or 3 years down the road for the most part. And you would think current players would like that as well, to have their situation handled and realize if they're going to stay with their current team or go elsewhere. Kevin Pritchard, I talked with him about it like 4 years ago, and he was actually one of them at the time that said, yeah, absolutely, I would prefer that. But I don't have the concrete reason other than it probably just started this way and has continued.
Scott, give me the one position heading into the draft that the Pacers are covered on, that Kevin Pritchard goes, we don't need to worry about that. Or is there one? And if there's not, which one is the least concern?
Right at the moment, I think it's point guard and center. However, a lot can change in due time. But I think realistically, I do think probably where they're most covered at is point guard, just because you consider that they're all in on Tyrese, obviously. And TJ McConnell has a big fan group within the Pacers and within the front office as well. And more than ever, you're seeing 2s and 3s bring the ball up and handle that kind of thing. Now, you do need depth, but you can also fill out the third guy, can be the last guy at the end of the bench type thing, generally speaking. So I would say point guard, they're most covered, Jake, then probably center. Wouldn't be surprised, though, if, like, at center, you could see 1 or 2 guys not brought back, which then would enable them if they wanted to, add a big man type thing, if that was what they were looking at here. The interesting one thing is if the Pacers do make a couple of moves, then you look into could you trade up, could you get a Paolo Banchero, and that's how you move and roll moving forward. But a lot would happen, I think, in order to make that even a possibility first.
It's really interesting with TJ McConnell. He was brought in, Scott, primarily because they liked his ability to mentor and groom and grow Aaron Holiday. And then as time went on, they realized this guy can play. And this guy, he knows angles. He knows where to get people in the right position. It's really pretty fascinating to watch. But that said, I feel like in today's NBA, and I want you to tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like you need a dynamic ball handler like Halliburton, a guy to back him up like TJ McConnell, one guy to rebound, and then 12 wing players that are all 6'9" and can hit threes. That's how I would build a roster. Would I get fired instantly?
I think that's an oversimplification, but I absolutely understand what you're getting at here. You need the wings, the playmakers, the guys to take over late in games, the guy that to get it to them, and everybody needs at least one good rebounder on the floor. So if you're explaining the game, Jake, to a friend who's over for the Indy 500 for the first time, and that's a good way to start, I think, about what it takes anymore, because you don't need to say, hey, we need a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. No, that's outdated. And that's a whole different conversation if you discuss all NBA teams or all-star teams. Let's just get rid of positions and put out the top 5 players. But I think you're on point with that.
Scott, who do you think would bring back more in return, Malcolm Brogdon or Miles Turner?
The big asterisk a little bit, obviously, is that foot injury, right? None of us have seen Miles play since that injury back in, early January? If you remove that from the conversation, I think it's Miles. However, you got to keep in mind their contract situation's drastically different, right? With Malcolm, you know what you're going to pay him for the next, 3 years. With Miles, you have to be prepared to give him a contract extension if you were acquiring him, right? And so for that, Malcolm is a known number, although it may be higher than you would like. But removing the injury, I would think Miles just because. Actually, no, I'm going to change that. I think it would be Malcolm, because what we're seeing with the landscape, to the point of kind of Jake last just here, is that teams don't want to pay. I remember Brad Stevens; he did not want to pay centers more than $4.5 million. He goes, "Hey, look,
it's kind of like the running back in the NFL right now.
I can go get Daniel Tice. You want Daniel Tice? I'll go get him. I don't need to go spend $25 million on this center right now. Now, there are a couple elite ones, obviously you're willing to. The Jokic, the Embiid, but if you're the Pacers and you're thinking ahead to next year, if you want Miles back, let's say, are you willing to pay $25 million for the next 4 years for him? That's the conversation you have to be having.
Scott, if the Boston Celtics are to win the NBA, does that get lost on the resume of Brad Stevens, or does it go as in other words, does Brad Stevens get credit as the architect of this team, or is it, it's Danny Ainge's group and Brad Stevens just happens to have taken over the wheel?
I think it'd be shared, because the core pieces, you're right, Jake, it was Danny. It was Jaylen Brown. It was Tatum, obviously. They had all those swings at it for the last few years with those draft picks, and he took a lot of criticism. He also, and what he ultimately decided, I think, and that group found out is you also need role players amongst them. You can have too many stars, actually. It's not a problem the Pacers deal with, but that was a problem for them, right? We saw when you threw Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward on top of all these other guys, things just didn't work. Someone was always unhappy. And so I thought Danny, until the last few years, had done a good job. And then Brad came in. He hired clearly a really good coach who was appropriate and took care of the biggest weakness, in my opinion, of Brad, and that was being hard on guys, coming down on them, holding guys accountable. I think Ime Udoka has done a really good job of that. And then on top of that, what we've seen is Brad make some tweaks to the roster, bringing in Derek White, bringing back Al Horford. And so I think it was also interesting, a guy moving from head coach to that president's role. You see what he really values. And Al Horford, for example, was a guy he really did, even though Danny traded him away for many other reasons.
Scott, hearing you describe Udoka and his coaching style, do you think that was too similar to Nate McMillian, and that's why it was Nate Bjorkgren over Udoka? I mean, he was by all accounts one of the finalists. He mentioned, a couple days ago that Indiana passed him over for the job. Do you think just that personality was a little bit, because I feel like that's what we see with coaching hires. We always see teams go full 180. The Colts did it from going from, Josh McDaniels to Frank Reich. I think the Pacers, you could look at all three of these hires recently. Nate to new Nate to Rick Carlisle as well. Do you think that was the reason why?
Well, for one, KB, I'm not completely sold on the idea that he was, runner-up. He finished runner-up, and maybe in that story it was just kind of an oversimplification of he's come up just short at the finish line after all of these interviews. Too? What's that?
Was Chris Finch involved too?
He was involved. I'm not certain that he was a finalist. I believe he was. I believe Dan Craig was. I'm trying to think.
Dan Craig's in Miami, but he left Miami, didn't he?
Yep. Now he's with the Los Angeles Clippers. Chris Quinn was part of the bigger group, but I think it's probably fair to say he was deep into interviews there. But this is the thing from a couple of years ago when they hired Nate. It stunned everybody in the NBA community. Like Nick Nurse told us all 3 weeks beforehand that Nate interviewed and he really hopes the best for him. And I'm not sure any of us took that super seriously because of kind of his experience and what the Pacers needed and him kind of being an under-the-radar guy. So when the Pacers seemingly, from what I was told, had it down to about 3 candidates, Udoka, in my mind, was not one of those. But to the broader point, it was the hiring of Nate shocked everyone. And that's what Kevin Pritchard wanted. That's the guy he wanted to target. And I will say, in hindsight, I don't think it was perhaps as bad as we made it out to be, to an extent, because look what we saw this past year, right? There's so many different issues that went on. There was a couple times they had to go in the locker room and handle things, and there still needs to be some player accountability, and that's something I even asked Kevin at the draft lotteries. Do you look in still to get in a veteran on this roster that can maybe play some, but has been there, done that, can provide some knowledge and experience and hold that locker room together, be a glue guy. But to the bigger point, I don't think Udoka was a true finalist, is my understanding. But yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, now in hindsight, defense, holding guys accountable, those are among the 2 top candidates or 2 traits that the Pacers needed in their candidates.
Scott Agness, Fieldhouse Files is where you can read his work. Plenty of conversation with him, I'm sure, as we get set upcoming between now and the NBA draft. Scott, appreciate it as always.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott Agness on the Payless Liquors guest line. Speaking of which, in about 13 minutes, we're going to go to a conversation I'm looking forward to a guy that coached what I think might be kind of one of the wild cards for the Colts draft. We will get to that conversation at the top of the hour. Kevin and Query, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
My crusade for the perfect pizza crust has led me here, pining over a backyard wood-fired oven. But how do I bake this build into my budget? Where can I get some solid guidance on my finances? Who can help me understand if I have the dough for this?
A little financial advice. At Regions, we know that's important because your Life Green checking account comes with Greenprint, financial planning with a banker who will help you create a personal budget and live in the moment. Make your appointment at regions.com/Greenprint. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
FanDuel Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the 75th NBA Finals. Hey, it's Mark from Kevin and Query, and to celebrate 75 years of the NBA, we're giving all customers a $75 referral bonus. That's right, you give and get $75 in site credit when you invite friends to join America's #1 sportsbook. Here's how it works. Invite your friends from the app, make sure they sign up with your referral link, and as soon as your friend makes any bet of at least $10, you'll both get the $75 bonus. Offer ends June 2nd when Game 1 of the NBA Finals tips off, so today's your last day to do it. Don't miss your chance to bet the Finals with a bonus. If you're new to FanDuel, you can also sign up with promo code MARK to get free bets after your first bet. That's promo code MARK, M-A-R-C. While you're there, check out their everyday odds boosts and specials. Plus, the app is safe, secure, and easy to use. And when you win, you get paid quick. I've loved betting the NBA all playoff long. I've had a couple same-game parlays. You can check those out as well. Just head over to the FanDuel Sportsbook app and invite your friends today to get your $75 Sportsbook credit. 21 and over and present in Indiana. Referred players must wager $10 within 28 days after signing up. Limit 10 referrals. Site credit is now withdrawable and expires after 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
When a health system treats patients with the very best in medical care and compassion, it needs a rare kind of staff. That's why Eskenazi Health never stops looking for professionals who understand that technology is most effective when paired with a genuine human touch. If you are a nurse, a social worker, or another professional interested in a career with us, visit eskenazihealth.edu/careers. Eskenazi Health, one of Becker's 150 great places to work in healthcare.
Spectrum is America's leading internet provider, delivering ultra-fast gig speeds you need on the high-performance network you want. And Spectrum's advanced home Wi-Fi is security made simple, automatically blocking outside threats, along with 99.9% network reliability. So no matter what you do online, you can do it faster, safer, and more reliably with Spectrum Internet. Get 200 megabits per second for only $49.99 a month. Visit Spectrum.com today for details. Based on internet subscribers among top internet service providers. Restrictions apply.
We're the most active season of the year right now, but if you have joint pain, you can't live like you want to. Whether it's heading to the zoo, walking on the canal, attending an Indians game, hip pain, knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, it sucks the fun out of living. I'm Kevin Bowen, and I've got some fantastic news for you, though. QC Kinetics is helping the people get the fun back with advanced regenerative treatments from local professionals right here in Indy locations in Eagle Creek and Greenwood. We're talking regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically a growth factors with healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. It's exciting. In-office, non-surgical treatment can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints, giving you real, lasting relief from pain. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, all-natural options, and the patient satisfaction reports are incredible. Yes, you can get real relief from pain with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. So call QC Kinetics 463-235-7160. Again, locations in Eagle Creek and Greenwood.
What will put you and your love on Cloud 9 this June? It's Diamonds Direct's most amazing offer this year. Right now, for a limited time on any purchase, get the best price, pay nothing down, and get 5 years zero-interest financing. If you've been swooning over that $5,000 designer ring, right now it's only $85 a month. $3,000 diamond studs, just $50 a month, and they're yours. Don't miss this special limited-time financing event exclusively at Diamonds Direct. Get details and more at diamondsdirect.com. On approved credit.
Indy car races through the streets of Belle Isle at the Detroit Grand Prix. Sunday at 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's Kevin and Query.
What the hell are you doing, John? Come back and get it. Charlie, come back toward the ball. If he's coming, I'm going to engage him, and then I'm going to slip out into the screen.
Concentrate, get better. Say to yourself, I got to get better.
On 93.5.
Boom, baby!
And 107.5 The Fan.
We're going to talk to Mike Locksley, the head football coach of Maryland, coming up in about 8 minutes. Mark Dykton, I asked you the trivia question earlier. Kevin, I will let you engage as well. I admittedly am not a huge soccer fan. I don't dislike it. I just have never totally gotten into it. I can appreciate it. And just thought it'd be fun to get a hat or something from a kind of a more obscure team, not the Man United or the Tottenham or those things. And I don't even know how I was looking at it, but there is a soccer club in England that was relegated, so they're not in the EPL. And their motto is, no one likes us, we don't care. And I thought, well, that's cool. I can get on board with it. I'm on board with him.
Sounds like the SEC motto.
That's right. So I went to go look just to buy a hat or something, and of course on their website, it comes right up, and all these teams have a corporate sponsor that becomes kind of like the team name on their kits, as they call it, on their jerseys. So what company is the sponsor? Mark, go ahead.
So I thought you wanted teams, so I narrowed it down to 3 teams, and you can tell me if I'm hot or cold. Nottingham Forest, Millwall, or what was the other one I had written down? I think it was. I can't remember the third one now.
It is
matter.
Millwall.
It is Millwall. Okay.
Is that because of the groundhog?
Oh, I forgot. What was the groundhog's name? Mark?
Milltown Mel. He killed himself.
Gosh, you had to go there. So
well, he
quickly.
did. He died. He didn't want to do it anymore.
We don't know that it was
Punxsutawney Phil was moving in on his territory. He's like, I can't do it.
They're still investigating, to be fair. Let's not...
Allegedly.
We try to be informative here. We don't want anyone to run with that story.
So, would you like to guess the corporate sponsor?
Husky Chocolate.
Is it alcohol related?
Kevin is correct.
It's chocolate?
Husky chocolate,
wow.
yes.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, these people are everywhere. Everywhere but here. Husky chocolate is the kit, whatever. Now, apparently, somebody sent me a thing on Twitter. Apparently, Husky chocolate is shady.
No, now hold on. Now you're just getting on me for the Milltown Mel thing.
They just slid into our DMs.
I know. I like Husky chocolate, but apparently, I saw somebody that was
pretty sweet.
Somebody just sent me a thing, and they're like, "Hey, Husky chocolate, they sponsor everything, and they kind of came out of nowhere, and now all of a sudden they're just throwing money all over the place." And I guess there are people that are like, "Well, what's going on here?"
What's the DM update, Mark?
Yeah, what is the DM?
All quiet on the Western Front so far.
Well, it's actually east of here.
Are you responding like, "Hey"?
Well, we're on the. I'm saying our DMs have not been lit up.
They haven't replied to the "Hey, you up?"
Yeah, not yet. Okay. I mean, I'm sending emojis and everything.
I mean, they should be up, right? I mean, it's nearly 3:00 over there.
For those that are unfamiliar, Husky Chocolate, the sponsor for Marcus Ericsson's Indy 500 winning car, and they have their brand everywhere. It is a chocolate protein drink out of Sweden, but it is not available in the United States. They don't even ship here. You can't order it online or anything. And Mark made mention to it, and they slid into the DMs and were like, "We're going to get you a case." Isn't that basically what they said?
Basically, yeah. They said, "Hang in there. Give us a couple days. We can drink it together." I said, "Okay." I'm all getting hot and bothered all of a sudden.
Can we put Larceny Bourbon inside some Husky chocolate at the night at the Fan Cave?
That sounds like a hell of a night.
Get Marcus Ericsson out there.
By the way, I'm seeing these Millwall jerseys. There's also one with Captain Morgan on the front, and it's for kids. So you got kids running around in a Captain Morgan jersey. That might get
I put a little Captain Morgan in my Husky chocolate.
Do you know that Frank Reich was a finalist for the Maryland job when Mike Locksley got, or I believe interviewed for it?
It's not surprising. He played there.
Right. Locksley's been there for a while.
Has he been there a while?
I
got to ask him if he gets confused by their uniforms.
Yeah, those uniforms are the whole turtle shell action. Yeah, I am.
They change them.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah,
they changed them
They're
a lot.
Red and yellow and black at times, and then
you're talking about Indy car paint schemes. That Maryland paint scheme is something else.
Yeah, that is something
else. They do
else.
change it quite often.
Mike Locksley talked Nick Cross, the Colt, who I think, again, a very rare move by Chris Ballard, arguably his favorite draft pick in this 2022 class. We'll talk to Mike Locksley next about that.
Everybody needs a man cave.
Ours just happens to be a little bigger than most.
All right. Let's not go there. Let's just invite them to our place.
We're getting together for a night in the Fan Cave, brought to you by Forum Credit Union on June 23rd. We'll chat about sports, tell lies, and talk smack.
We'll start the evening down in the Larceny Lounge with munchies, beer, and plenty of Larceny and Evan Williams bourbon.
This is going to be a heck of a party and a show rolled into one.
Tickets are on sale now at 1075thefan.com.
Buy 4 Ultimate Washes and get 2 free is back at Crew Car Wash. Wash books make great gifts for Dad this Father's Day. Available online and all Crew Car Wash locations.
The Sundown Gardens Container Tree Sale is this Saturday and Sunday. 20% off all container trees at Sundown Gardens, 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, sundowngardens.com.
At Diamonds Direct right now, there's nothing standing in your way of owning the piece of jewelry you've been dreaming of. No down payment and no finance charges for 5 whole years on any purchase. Take the amazing Diamonds Direct price you're used to, divide by 60, and that's your payment. It's a smart way to buy. Keep your money in your pocket and still add that amazing ring, band, or bracelet to your collection. Even the upgrade you've been wanting. 5 years, 0 interest on any purchase. Only at Diamonds Direct. Get all the details at diamondsdirect.com on approved credit.
Realizing Geico has over 85 years of experience saving folks money and providing great customer service is like realizing there's a crumb tray on the bottom of your toaster, and you don't have to keep turning the toaster upside down to clean it.
How long has that been there? Hey, who needs some croutons?
It's something that's been right there in front of you all along, like the dedicated Geico claims team available to you in the event of an accident to get you back on the road quickly, or realizing that baby carrots are just regular carrots that have been shaved down.
I don't care. They're still cute.
It's something you can't believe you never realized before. Like how Geico's 97% customer satisfaction rating means Geico is committed to providing the best service for their customers. Or how you can peel the top layer of tape off a lint roller and there's a fresh layer underneath.
Marcy, wait till you hear about the lint roller.
You mean how the handle is reusable?
Wait, what?
Trust. It's just one of the many reasons to switch to Geico. They're all right there in front of you.
Hey, it's JMV for Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing, 317-284-9526. Online, that's ldsmithplumbing.com. The best in plumbing with this deal for you. If you're having a problem with the main drain and sewage backing up in your house, LD Smith Plumbing will come out and clear it, or it's free. That's LD Smith Plumbing, the number 317-284-9526. They'll clear it, or it's free. With LD Smith Plumbing. More information online, ldsmithplumbing.com.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis. Your home for the 2022 NBA playoffs and the NBA Finals. 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Prompt and on time. Our next guest, who we greatly appreciate, joined us to talk more about new Colts safety Nick Cross. He's the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins, coming off a Pinstripe Bowl victory this past season. Mike Locksley joins us right now. Coach, really appreciate you making time for us.
No problem. No problem at all.
We wanted to ask about safety Nick Cross, who I know left school early to come into the NFL draft. The Colts made a very rare move. They traded back into the third round to get him. What were your conversations, if any, like with the Colts during the draft process about Nick?
I think the big thing with everybody in terms of Nick was just how, in my opinion, I still think his best football is ahead of him. Everybody's enamored by the speed, the size, the skill set. But he's a fairly young football player in that, he wasn't one of those guys that grew up playing youth football. I think he didn't play football until he got into high school. And then even then, just you saw how he, matured as a football player throughout his time at DeMatha. And then, the 3 years he spent with us. And, he's one of the guys that went against the grain when he decided to come to Maryland, because he was a guy that we recruited, very heavily when I was at Alabama. And then when I got the Maryland job, he was one of the first local guys here, the highly recruited guys that decided to stay at home, which to me I think shows the type of character he has.
Coach, you were a defensive back yourself, and that's, if I'm not mistaken, as you came up through the ranks.
Pounds ago.
Well, hey, listen, as I said, we're the same age group, right? I understand, but that was the position you played, and then you coached it for the better part of your, coming up through the ranks into becoming a head coach. I think sometimes guys, when they are coaching players that play the same position that you had played as a player, it's difficult to teach guys what was instinctive to you as a player. Did Nick Cross have that natural instinct that you didn't have to teach in terms of his reactionary play as a defensive back?
Yeah, there's no doubt. As the longer he was here at Maryland, you started to see it really come through. He showed great range. We all know about his track times, and he's an accomplished track guy out of high school. But you saw the range that he showed. That as I remember talking to a few teams saying, he's one of those guys that you can play in the deep part of the field as well as come down in the box as well as blitz. can be a slot safety, slot nickel guy, and very rarely do you see safeties that can do all three. They're usually either a deep middle third player or they're a down safety. And Nick's one of those guys that I think the versatility of his skill set allows him to do a multiple of things.
It seems like that's huge with Gus Bradley's system as well. Again, Mike Locksley joins us, the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins, also the head coach of Nick Cross, who the Colts took late in the third round, traded back up last month, or I guess late April. I want to go back to the recruiting story with him, Coach, because you mentioned, at Alabama, you guys were on him. When I hear DeMatha, I think basketball. Certainly a very talented football player, but he was probably one of the more highly recruited guys you have gone after and gotten to come to Maryland, correct?
Yeah, he was with that first recruiting class, and again, he had offers to Florida State, Alabama, Penn State, you name it. And, I had developed a really strong relationship with him and his family during my time at Alabama. And so it was kind of weird when I switched hats after the championship game at Alabama and returned to Maryland. I had to put the Maryland hat on, and it was a battle to get him to want to stay home. And, but after showing him how he could be a part of building something, which, us going from, 2 wins to 7 wins during his tenure, can be attributed to the leadership that Nick showed. He was one of those guys that was, hard worker, did all the things right, was totally bought into the culture of what it takes to win, and, definitely set the stage for us to be able to build on the foundation that guys like him help establish here at Maryland.
Coach, I've got a ton of respect for you, and I want to tell you why, and I hope this doesn't encroach into too personal an area. Okay. But your job, we're like I said, we're roughly the same age range here, and I think that there is an importance and a significance in trying to guide young people in the right direction. And you're a father, I am not, but you lost a son to violence, and now you are a coach that is doing exactly that with young people. A guy like Nick Cross, for example, that maybe you felt like he left a little early, I don't know, but you got to let him spread his wings a little bit. How much of molding young people is motivated now and fueled by the memory of your son who was killed 5 years ago?
I think losing my son, Miko, it opened up a couple of things for me that have made me a better coach. One, I was always one of those guys that maybe didn't respect time. I always could easily say, hey, I'll get to that tomorrow, or, put it off and wait. And then all of a sudden you get a knock at the door. And as I've said before, the circle of life isn't built for parents to bury children. And so losing him showed me just the value of time, because I always thought I'd see him walk down the aisle, have his first child, see him grow into becoming a dad. And when you lose that opportunity, it really makes you think back and say, you know what? As I tell people, losing him taught me that my give a crap gauge is on E, and that all I want to do now with the platform I have as a head coach is to find a way to make the young men that are brought to me in my program are able to leave here the best version of themselves that they can possibly be, as better fathers, better husbands, better men. And then the second part of it, Miko dealt with mental health issues, and what it did to me is show that here's a kid that grew up with both parents at home, a solid foundation academically, and a lot of the kids I recruit don't have that. And so if he could end up having and dealing with mental health issues, imagine what some of these kids that don't come from the same type of environment deal with. And so it's really made me, as a head coach, put programs together within my program to deal with the mental health aspect of what these young men have gone through and are going through in their lives, to be able to allow them to unpack the luggage and be the best version of themselves. So it's kind of twofold, and definitely those two things are probably the things that I learned from the adversity of losing my son.
We were talking earlier about the fact 20 years ago today was when the television show The Wire was released. I realize not everybody listening to this has seen The Wire, but it takes place in Baltimore. It fictionally involves kids that grow up on the street in Baltimore, the drug trafficking and the gangs of Baltimore. I don't know, Coach, if you have seen the show, but I thought it was a very important show because it allowed for someone like me who did not grow up in that environment to grow in empathy towards people that did. And I think that we have lost sight of that a little bit for people that get too focused in their own snow globe. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Definitely. And as a person that kind of grew up in that environment in the D.C. area, again, you know, a single-parent mom raised me and my two brothers and sisters. My sister and my coaches became like father figures. And if you look at shows like The Wire that depict kind of the urban environment of what these kids go through, it's exactly what I'm referencing when you're talking about some of the kids that we recruit into college football programs. They come with grown-up luggage. They deal with a lot of things the normal kid doesn't have to deal. So that adjustment of going to college, playing football, working to get a degree, those things are all very challenging. And so as a coach, we want to do all we can to give them all the tools and resources to leave there with the education, the degree, but also an opportunity to take advantage of a God-given talent, which is to play football.
He's Mike Locksley. He's the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins. He's with us here talking about Nick Cross, among other things. The Colts' third-round pick out of Maryland, safety there. One more thing on Nick. Could you share a little bit about him inside the classroom? You know, it always amazes me, and I don't say this to try and carry the Colts' water, but you listen to these draft picks every time the Colts have made a pick. I'm just kind of blown away by the maturity that they seem like they have. I know Nick's a young guy, I think just 20 years old. But what is he like off the field? Because the combine numbers obviously speak for themselves.
Yeah, he's one of those kids who grew up in a great home, mom and dad, really strong parents, came into college with the right stuff. He's one of the few guys that from high school was able to get into our business program straight from high school. Usually you have to be here a couple of years, but he obviously showed the ability for an academic skill set to get into one of the top business schools in the program and thrive academically. I mean, he was one of those guys that I didn't have to chase the class, high character, understood the importance of the education piece, understood the importance of making good decisions and choices off the field. Never had any issue with Nick. And I think, when you look at the type of player he was for us, the type of leader he was for us, usually how you are off the field is usually how you are on the field. And I think you're going to see you guys are getting a guy that will work, will keep himself out of trouble, will be a great teammate, will be great in that locker room. And as I said, I still think his best football is ahead of him.
Did you feel like, Coach, with your, and I love the phrase, your give a crap factor was on E, your perspective changing about living for today and not tomorrow, did that in any way affect the level of support you had for Nick when he decided to leave early to go into the league? Did that weigh into it? In other words, would the Mike Locksley of 15 years ago have said, hey, I don't know that you're ready? Were you influenced by the seize the moment mantra?
You know what? Being in this business 30 years and having 36 guys that were drafted in the first or second round, when it comes to make these decisions about whether to enter the draft or not, my job is to create to get the information and gather the information for the kid and his family. Obviously, with the ties we have, and I have to a lot of the NFL teams, I reached out personally to find out, hey, where do people see Nick based on, the tape and based on the things that they've evaluated. I give them the information, and it's their decision. I can remember back in 1999, I had a running back, Lamont Jordan, that was thinking about coming out. He just rushed for 1,800 yards, and he came in and asked me my opinion as a young coach. What do you think I should do? And, of course, I said, you need to come back. And the next year, he didn't have the type of year that he had from year one, the year before. And I felt like crap. I'm thinking, man, I gave bad advice. So from that day on, I learned these are family decisions, personal decisions that the kid needs to be able to make. My job is to get the information, to give it to him, say, this is what people think. But it always comes to betting on yourself. And Nick definitely bet on himself. It worked out great for him. I think being drafted by the Colts, the history of what the position has done there, and playing for a former Terp and Coach Reich, and I think it worked out great for Nick.
And not only that, Coach, in conclusion here, Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, has really, in the last 2 years, elevated his initiative of kicking the stigma about mental health, raising awareness about mental health, trying to create resources for people that are battling with mental health. And I know that that's a cause that is close to you for the reasons that you mentioned in this interview. Between that, Frank Reich, and now Nick Cross being here with Indianapolis, I hope that bridge maybe is extended to you as well to become, kind of a part of that initiative with Jim Irsay and the Colts. And I think sounds like you've got kind of the Colts value that they talk about themselves. So it sounds like a good fit. And certainly I hope it's one that can extend to a continued growth with you and your program as well.
Appreciate that for sure.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate the time.
Yep. Thank you.
That's Mike Locksley right there on the Payless Liquors hotline.
Fear the turtle, man.
And enjoy that conversation with him. Certainly has been through a lot. And, I think the whole building relationships, Jake, from an Alabama standpoint, from a recruiting front, and then able to keep Nick Cross at Maryland. It's not like Maryland is a hotbed for football recruiting talent. Just goes to show you the type of relationship that Mike Locksley was able to create with Nick.
His son was an athlete and, a college athlete that was then diagnosed as schizophrenic, also with bipolarity, and was fatally shot in 2017 in an unsolved murder. I believe it's still unsolved at this time, and he's been very active since then about mental health, very similar to Jim Irsay's initiatives in trying to make people kick down that stigma, if you will, about mental illness and the situations in which it can put someone in. And I applaud and commend. I don't have kids, so I can't speak to how difficult this must be, but to recognize that the situations that his mental illness put his son in situations that put his life in peril, to recognize that as opposed to not using it as an excuse, but rather as a teaching point for other people, I think is very commendable.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Extremely impressive what he is doing outside of, running a Big Ten football program, which brings obvious challenges as well. And at his alma mater, correct? Isn't Locksley a Maryland guy?
He played at Towson State, I believe. But he had coached at Maryland
previously.
He's coached a lot of places. I believe the Naval Academy as well. But seems like a nice guy. He's coached at Navy Prep. Sorry. So Towson State was where he played. Then he coached at Navy, Prep, Pacific, Army, Maryland. These are all his assistants. Florida, Illinois, New Mexico, back to Maryland, Alabama, and then Maryland as a head coach.
We mentioned this a little bit earlier in the show, but I feel like when you look, Jake, at the Kenny Moore situation, I think we got a call here from John that we can get to in just a second. I talked to Stephen Holder. We talked to him in the 8 o'clock hour. I really have been impressed by Isaiah Rodgers.
I've told you before, I love Isaiah Rodgers.
For a small school guy, there is little to no panic with him when the ball is in the air. And, how much is Stephon Gilmore going to play? That's been a debate that we've had, where he's at injury-wise. Gilmore is present in Indy. He's not taking part in any of the full-speed 7-on-7s that we've seen so far. So clearly they're trying to monitor things this spring with him. But I think Isaiah Rodgers is a guy that could really step forward for this team and play a pretty important role. And right now, he's taking full advantage of even more reps with the fact that Kenny Moore is not participating in the voluntary part of the offseason. That's something John wanted to talk about. John, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Just calling about Kenny Moore. I think he's played very well for us over the years, and I think the chronology of events last year was that he made the Pro Bowl, and then toward the end of the year, they played the Raiders, the penultimate game last year against the Raiders. That game against Hunter Renfrow, he just could not cover Hunter Renfrow, and I think that game really
he got roasted.
Affected his ability to negotiate his contract currently. What do you think about that?
Yeah, certainly the final two games, thank you, John, for the call, were not good for Kenny Moore. Hunter Renfrow got the best of him, to say the least, in that matchup over at Lucas Oil Stadium. That certainly is not a great lasting impression, but I'll go back to, again, something we talked about with Steven earlier. Jake, I think the bigger issue here for Kenny Moore is less to do with him and his end to last season, and more to do with Chris Ballard looking at the big picture of what precedent am I going to set with this move.
Totally. I totally get it.
That is the bigger deal to me of if you say yes to Kenny Moore, how many people are you saying yes to in that locker room? The Colts already gave Kenny a really nice contract, that second one, and if you're Ballard, you can easily say to him, Kenny, blame your former agent. He shouldn't have signed you to a 4-year deal. Because we're going into year 3 of that 4-year deal, so it's still not even the final year of that contract upcoming. So, yes, John, it wasn't a great last impression, but again, the precedent, the message you send to your locker room, that's a big, big deal to Chris Ballard, and it's a slippery slope if you decide to go down that.
You know one thing, and I agree with all that, by the way, one thing that I think coaches can learn from, we're in Indianapolis, Indiana. I don't know whether it was you or Mark that set up that interview with Mike Locksley to come on and talk about Nick Cross. Mark is saying it was him.
Kudos to Mark.
That's right.
After the draft, emailed Mark, said, let's try and get some coaches on, but Mark did a great job with that.
So if you're Mike Locksley, you're like, Indianapolis to talk about Nick Cross, okay, whatever. Listening to that guy talk, if you're a parent right now driving to work, you listen to that guy talk, tell me that's not somebody that you would think, I'd like for my son to go play for that guy. Mike Locksley, for all we know, there's somebody driving right now whose son is going to be a freshman at Warren or Ben Davis or Carmel or Cathedral or Center Grove or, Garin or whatever, who could be a Division I football player. And if he gets a letter in the mail from Maryland now, you're telling me that you wouldn't think to yourself, you know what, I'd be okay with that. That sounds like a guy that I could send my son to go play. Like, the value in that, to me, is, it is invaluable, is it not? Like, to get a guy like that needs to let people know who he is, because clearly that is a leader, right?
Jake, if I were a head football coach, or if I were the head PR person at a college football program, let's say I am that for Maryland, I would say to Mike Locksley, Mike, carve out 30 minutes every single day, and you're going to do one radio interview in Big Ten country, one radio interview outside of Big Ten country, for the reasons that you just mentioned right there.
100, totally agree.
In this market, in his conference's, central location, he just was extremely impressive for 15 minutes, and you clearly were blown away by it, rightfully so. And I don't get why coaches don't see a little bit more of that big picture of, oh my God, I got to be grinding the film room, and if I'm not watching, 30 minutes of tape here on this school, we're going to lose in June. If you make that impression and word of mouth starts going around, I think that can make a monumental difference in trying to put your program on the map.
We began this show by talking about the Indy 500 television ratings, okay? We just got done with the month of May here in Indianapolis. How many interviews did we do with drivers that we didn't initiate? Elio, right?
Yeah.
They came to us and said, would you like to have Elio and Pagano on?
That was it. Yeah, maybe Dalton Kellett.
How many emails did you get saying, talk to this driver, have them on, feature them?
Yeah, it just kind of, it's a head scratcher to me that you don't see more of that.
Listen, I had to drop algebra, as we know, right? But I know what 2 + 2 is.
Well, you can you can do double-digit multiplication really well.
That is true.
20 times 45?
900. Come on, that was easy.
Look at that. It confuses me. And I get it, Jake. You and I are in a business. We are in a business where it's advantageous for us if those people see that. But mainly, you're talking college football in a recruiting standpoint, and when Maryland is measured on the Big Ten fandom scale, they're near the bottom of it.
Correct.
If you are able to do that and promote your own players, I was going to, we didn't get a chance to get to it with him, but I was kind of curious. I assume he has the same feelings as Tom Allen, but you're starting to see Tom Allen be pretty vocal about the divisions and the realignment that's needed for the Big Ten. I mean, if you're Mike Locksley, you probably agree with that as well when you look at what you have in the Big Ten East. So if you missed that conversation, check it out for far more than just Nick Cross and his thoughts on that. We had some IndyCar news yesterday we haven't got to, Alexander Rossi related. I still want to ask you about before we close things out. A pop quiz is coming up in about 5 minutes, 317-239-1070 for that. But now let's hit a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by QC Kinetics. Relieving your joint pain at QCkinetics.com. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
NBA Finals underway beginning tonight. It is Boston in Golden State for game number 1. The Warriors having to go through probably a little more extra pregame stretches to get loosened up. Boston kind of in rhythm. Question is, what happens in game 1? I'm telling you, oftentimes the team that wins game 1 does not win the series.
Yeah, I will take Golden State in game 1. I'm taking them in the series. I still think there is just a little bit of a shock value when you play Golden State and you see them and experience them for the first time. Do we know who? Did you guys see Mike Breen has COVID? Do you see who's doing game 1? Is he back or? Kind of curious about that. I always enjoyed Mike Breen on the call there. So we'll see who's doing game 1. 9 o'clock tip. Our coverage will begin. It looks like at 8 o'clock tonight with some pregame coverage on The Fan. Jake, I was over at West 56th Street yesterday. We talked a little bit about the good news on the Julian Blackmon front and kind of the awkward situation with Darius Leonard and this lingering ankle injury. Here was Frank Reich yesterday on Leonard, present but not participating in the spring offseason program.
You never know, right? And that's exactly why we're trying to be cautious with him, right? We're trying to be cautious. So, just taking it day by day, trying to see, what exactly we're dealing with. How can we get it to respond and make some progress? Sometimes when you're going through something and you hit a lull and you can't get over a hump that you want to get past, and you got to stop and pause and say, why aren't we getting over this hump? That's a little bit what it is with Darius. That's a little bit what it is with Darius. We're just continuing to be cautious with him and want to be smart about getting him ready. In the meantime, he's locked in, doing all this stuff, getting mentally, he's prepared, and it's as if he's in there. So we'll continue to evaluate him as we go.
There are two ways to look at this. Number one would be, it's right, there's nothing to be gained right now. Take it easy. The other would be, is this lingering?
Jake, those are conversations I'd like to have in January and February. Not training camp starts next month.
That's fair. Why are we waiting this long?
And I get it. You can't, how your body reacts, you can't always stay ahead of it and control, but just don't love hearing that from such an important player on June 1st.
There we go.
Jake, the Fever lose last night. I know you were tuned in. It sounded like a little bit to the Rangers game. They
locked
beat the
in.
Lightning.
Yeah, that's my Eastern Conference team. Mm-hmm. I'm all in.
Yeah, nothing says. Yeah, do you have like a Big Ten West team? You have a Big Ten East team in Indiana. Do you have a Big Ten West team?
It's Maryland now.
What will you have first? A Maryland jersey, a Millwall kit, or a Rangers jersey?
Or a bottle of Husky chocolate.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Does that come with the jersey? Is that part of buying a jersey?
It just depends on how much room I can make in my closet, if I've outgrown some of my Flame stuff.
Yeah, because we know it's just puddles of Flames gear that you have.
Just telling you.
In your closet.
I'm just telling you.
Major League Baseball yesterday, the Red Legs
it's
lose
like a firehouse.
in Fenway 7-1. Cubs beat the Brewers in extras 4-3. The Cardinals continue to do Cardinals things. They beat the Padres 5-2. Tigers beat the Twins. White Sox lose the Blue Jays. And Jake, the Indians just couldn't handle the storm, or they did handle the storm?
No, they handled the storm quite 13-3. Are you kidding me? The Storm Chasers.
Boy.
Sorry what they got. The Storm Chasers went looking for a storm. Indianapolis rolled into Omaha and said, really? We got a tornado right here for you. How do you like this?
They brought some thunder and lightning there with their bats. All right, it's pop quiz time here on Kevin and Query, 317-239-1070. Jiffy Lube prize pack is up for grabs. Have you looked at the pop quiz?
I have. Manageable. It's manageable.
You said you did not watch the match yesterday?
I did not. You're talking about the golf dealio?
Yeah,
I did not.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is so smug.
He's
easy to hate. But, man, he's good. He's even good at golf.
A natural athlete, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's never trust. Oh, well. Anyway, I won't go into the reasons why he shouldn't be trusted.
And we'll talk a little IndyCar before we round things out. Probably a good time to hit a break. Kevin and Query, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Skip the long lines and high cost at the banks and get pre-approved today for your next home purchase or a refinance at thehomeloanexpert.com. NMLS number 1326241.
Follow The Fan on social media. The Fan is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Like and follow The Fan to stay up to date on all of our giveaways and all things sports.
No matter the weather, it's a perfect day to consider getting a COVID-19 booster, as recommended by the CDC. Sponsored by BioNTech and Pfizer.
Hey, it's JMV for BullseyeEventGroup.com and the best pregame party anywhere. The Colts are going to Vegas this year, and so can you. The official Colts Las Vegas fan travel package is a private air charter with hundreds of Colts fans. That means no stops, no layovers, a direct flight. Leave Indy Saturday morning, return Monday afternoon. 2-night weekend travel package at Caesars Palace. Tickets to the Colts and the Raiders game included. The official Colts Las Vegas fan travel package includes admission into the official Colts tailgate in Vegas, Vegas style. Book your spot now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
FanDuel Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the 75th NBA Finals. Hey, it's Mark from Kevin and Query, and to celebrate 75 years of the NBA, we're giving all customers a $75 referral bonus. That's right, you'll give and get $75 in site credit when you invite friends to join America's #1 sportsbook. Here's how it works. Invite your friends from the app, make sure they sign up with your referral link, and as soon as your friend makes any bet of at least $10, you'll both get a bonus. Offer ends June 2nd when Game 1 of the NBA Finals tips off, so don't miss your chance to bet the NBA Finals with a bonus. If you're new to FanDuel, you can sign up with promo code MARK to get free bets after your first bet. That's promo code MARK, M-A-R-C. Just head over to the FanDuel Sportsbook app and invite your friends today and get your $75 sportsbook credit. 21 and over and present in Indiana. Referred players must wager $10 or more within 28 days after signing up. Limit 10 referrals. Site credit is not withdrawable and expires after 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Sunny day. You'll be on Cloud 9 this summer with a spectacular offer from Diamonds Direct. Right now, for a limited time, you can make any purchase and take advantage of 0% interest financing for 5 years. It's our most popular offer ever. How about that $6,000 designer ring for just $100 a month? Fine jewelry has never been more affordable. But hurry, this is a limited time offer. 5 years, 0 interest on anything and everything. Only at Diamonds Direct. Details and more at diamondsdirect.com. On approved credit.
Wow, I've got a whole 5 minutes before my next call. What should I do? Grab a snack? Nah. Text with mom? That's more than a 5-minute proposition. I have been looking at getting a new bank account. Is that even possible?
Can't believe you have extra time? You won't believe what you can do with it. Open a Regions checking account online in as little as 5 minutes. Then enjoy award-winning service and banking tools and tech that help you live in the moment. Learn more at regions.com/live-in-the-moment. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
Oh, while we're in lawn and garden, I was thinking I should pick up one of those little things for watering my plants.
A hose?
No, the things that look like teapots, but for plants. You know, you tip it over and it goes blah, 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 blah.
You're good at describing words you've forgotten.
Like those things that give the plants a shower, you know, that you fill up.
A watering can?
Yes, a watering can. I knew that.
We're good at your insurance. Find an Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent online, over the phone, or in person, and stop knocking on wood.
After 2 long years in the dark, it was good to finally step back into the bright Indiana sunshine.
Drivers, start your engine!
To watch the winner kiss the yard of bricks.
Indianapolis 500 roars into turn number 1. Jimmie Johnson plowed into the wall.
Oh, they're going to throw a red flag.
It's Marcus Ericsson, twin checkers. He has achieved racing immortality.
Congratulations.
Marcus Ericsson is a champion at Indy.
From 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
Now, the only question I have about this being the Pop Quiz. By the way, 239-1070 is the telephone number.
Did you know number 5?
If you'd like your chance for a Jiffy Lube oil change. A Pop Quiz means that it's nobody anticipated it, right?
Well, I think where Scotty goes for the pop is with you don't know the topics per se.
Okay, fair enough. Question 5, I absolutely knew, yes. I also knew number 4 very easily. Number 3 is easy because I mentioned it several times on this program in the last 2 days. We're giving it away today. We literally are giving it away.
This just could have been, the test to get you through Kansas or something. You would have passed with flying colors.
Number 2 is easy if you have information inside of your massively growing head.
All right, let's not give away all 5 here. Jeez.
Okay, Scotty's getting nervous.
James, who we got? Actually, we should go with a number. James, want to pick a number?
Sure. I'll pick, 3.
3, and on line 3 is whom? Pedro. It's been a while, Pedro.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good.
Pedro, are you a professional contest player, Pedro?
Pedro's one of our smarter callers.
No, I'm a trivia nerd, sports trivia and stuff like that.
Okay, fair enough.
Did you ever watch Stump the Schwab back in the day?
Oh, all the time. I was in middle school, high school, whenever that was on.
He was annoying, wasn't he?
Well,
he
I
was
love that
a little
show.
bit.
Didn't Peyton and Eli do like a trivia show?
Did they? Yeah, they did. It was like a college thing, right?
Right.
It was Cooper.
Was it Cooper?
Yeah.
They had college students.
That's right.
On the show. You should apply for that, Jake.
That's right. I'm a college student. I forgot.
Can you imagine? That'd be great.
As long as molecular biology is not one of the subjects, I should be A-okay.
I mean, see if your Peyton Manning impression is good if you trick Cooper.
All those, Cooper knew that one. It's Kipper. It's not Cooper.
We're talking about
Kipper.
promoting, IndyCar, Mike Locksley. We could promote the show with Jake on that show.
That's right.
That is gold.
I could be sponsored by Husky Chocolate.
When we have that meeting with our boss later today, we need to bring that up.
Question number 1 for you, Pedro. Here we go. Who won yesterday's The Match in Las Vegas? Was it Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes and Josh Allen, Barkley and some other guy?
John Vonderveld.
Happy Gilmore and Roy McAvoy.
I didn't watch that. I guess I think Brady and Rodgers.
Okay. Question 2.
Jeez. I mean, that was really a 50-50 choice there. He made
Pretty
me nervous
much.
for a second. Rockies second baseman Brendan Rodgers hit 3 home runs in the Rockies' Game 2 win and a doubleheader with the Marlins last night. Rodgers capped his big night with a walk-off 2-run shot in the 10th inning over the last 20 seasons. Rodgers is the 6th player to end a 3-homer game with a walk-off blast. Which of the following did not have a 3-homer game with a walk-off? Votto, Pujols, Bonds, Machado.
I'm going to go with Votto.
Okay. Question number 3. The New York Rangers last night, all over Tampa Bay, 6-2 in the NHL playoffs. Rangers are looking for their first Stanley Cup since 1994, which I had said on this program, the first NHL game I ever attended. Game 7 in 1994, who did the Rangers defeat to win the Stanley Cup? Was it the Stars, the Vancouver Canucks, the Calgary Flames, or the Detroit Red Wings? Pavel Bure was the star of the team.
Man, I remember that name.
The Russian Rocket, who I believe dated Anna Kournikova later.
We call that winning on and off the ice.
What was that, Pedro?
Red Wings.
Red Wings, okay.
It's been 33 years since the Cincinnati Red has hit for the cycle. Name the Red who hit a single, double, triple, and homer in the same game on June 2nd, 1989, or 3 months before I was born. Barry Larkin, Todd Benzinger, Eric Davis, Paul O'Neill.
Eric Davis.
All right, last question for you, Pedro. On this day in 1883, the first night baseball game to be played under artificial lighting took place. In what Indiana city was the game played? South Bend, Kokomo, Lafayette, or Fort Wayne? It's also known as the Summit City and is the home of Rod Woodson.
Rod Woodson.
The Tin Caps, is that correct?
Tin Caps play there as well, yep. And actually, it actually was named after a guy that put a bunch of pillows together in the basement. His name was Wayne.
Fort Wayne.
Okay. Fort Wayne is obviously correct. So too was Eric Davis. But It was the Vancouver Canucks, not the Red Wings. It was Barry Bonds, not Joey Votto. Brady and Aaron Rodgers was correct. But unfortunately, in this installment, Pedro, not a winner, no oil change.
Thank you, Pedro.
You don't get to come back tomorrow. You don't even get a lousy copy of our home game. You're a complete loser.
Where is Kawhi Leonard? I feel like we haven't seen him in eons.
Where is Kawhi Leonard? Where did that come from?
Oh, that's his laugh.
Oh,
remember when he had the
very end
laugh?
there. Yeah, I'm
the,
sorry. I was reading some.
In the press conference?
Boy, that's a good question. I mean, did he miss the entire season? Man.
And Paul George missed a big chunk of time there as well. Yeah, the match yesterday, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, 1-up over Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Matt Ryan, by the way, is a scratch golfer. Very avid golfer. And
I think you find that a lot of football players are really good golfers because they have their summers off and the money, right?
Yeah, and I just think quarterbacks are just such natural athletes. Like quarterbacks probably were the shortstops, you know, probably good shooters on the basketball
for
floor.
the obvious reasons here, but I'll tell you what, athletes are tremendous golfers typically. I remember working in St. Louis, and I had to go and cover a golf outing where Chris Pronger of the Blues was playing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, he could drive the absolute heck out of the ball.
He's a big dude, isn't he?
Yeah. But I remember asking him, I'm like, holy cow, like, how long have you golfed? And he's like, basically my whole life because it's the same motion as a hockey.
Ah, yeah.
As a hockey stick.
I didn't think about it like that.
It's just the same. I think a lot of guys.
Well, Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, that's right. I think a lot of guys that didn't grow up playing golf, it's a challenge for them because they're so used to swinging a baseball bat. And so that, it's just a different motion.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, I have never golfed. And I'm not even making light. I'm being serious here.
You ever been to Top Golf?
Well, so here's what I was going to tell you. I had to do an event at Top Golf, probably 3 years ago.
They got that new place opening up.
And I was
downtown too.
I was hesitant to go because I didn't want to basically embarrass myself. And I got up there and my first tee drive, if you will, I was like, "Holy cow!"
Tee drive,
whatever you call it, drive. My first drive off the tee,
hitting a driver.
Yeah, whatever you call it. I hit it and I'm like, "Holy cow!" I'm pretty good. That was a hell of a shot. That thing's still flying. And then I realized I'm hitting it from 3 stories above the ground.
The elevation helps the hang time early on.
So I have never hit a ball off a tee like at a driving range.
You've never been on a driving range?
Since I was a kid. And when I did.
So you did not play William Somm golf course at all growing up? Or
never.
You and your buddies never?
Never.
Shorty's?
Never.
You familiar with where Shorty's is?
No.
Just north central off Westfield?
I took golf lessons when I was 10, and I think I probably just was overly frustrated by it or whatever.
Yeah.
Every shot that I hit, so I guess I was, as a kid, I did shoot off in a drive. I did a drive, whatever you call it. The ball went in whatever direction, 2 inches off the ground.
It sounded like an Indy car sound there for a second.
Getting the air flight was difficult for me.
Yeah, they're
I have nothing against it now. I am quite frankly, I have always been hesitant to golf now because I am such a beginner at it, and all of my friends have been doing it. I would say for my age group, Kevin. Now keep in mind, I grew up in an era where the key primary golfers were Jack Nicklaus and probably Lee Trevino and
Tom Watson
and Fuzzy Zeller. So, you grew up in an era where, Tiger Woods made it cool for guys your age, right? I'm sure you probably couldn't wait to go out and golf.
He's the only reason I play golf.
So, at any rate, all of my buddies picked it up primarily around college and became pretty good and, enjoy it. But at this point, I've never done it only because I just assumed that no one would want to golf with somebody who's a beginner. I would make it less fun for everybody else, so why bother?
You're an athlete. You wouldn't be horrific.
I have no idea. honestly.
Look at it from a positive standpoint. You have no bad habits. So if you take a couple lessons, you find
now
2 or 3 fundamentals.
The cigars that go along with it are a bit of a bad habit.
Well, that's it's part of the outdoor. You and Tony Katz could play.
Well, like I said.
I think they're opening up one of those Top Golf. It isn't Top Golf, but it's like one of those like entertainment golf range things. Have you seen it over there south of the zoo?
No. Really?
I think in the kind of like where the Amazon idea was thrown around for a while. I think it's opening up pretty soon. I forget what it's called. Someone will probably...
You know that Amazon, when Amazon was flirting with that Amazon 2 or whatever, and went to every single city in the country and was like, tell us why we should move here. That was actually all just to like get as much data as possible about the infrastructure of different markets as they continue to overtake the world. You know that, right?
Probably why they're Amazon, and
that is correct.
We're all peasants in the world.
That is correct.
Some IndyCar news. Alexander Rossi on the move. We'll talk about that next here. 93.5 on 7.5 The Fan.
Come on, let's move it. Come on. I wish the chief didn't have me working traffic out here on 38th Street in front of the fairgrounds for this weekend's big gun show. What's that, Harv? Step back, you stupid rabbit. They can't see you. Hey, pull up, buddy. Hey, nip it. And you better watch that sign language. Harv, run inside and buy me a bullet, will you? I lost the other one. And get some night vision gear, too. It looks like I'll be out here till after dark. Wait a minute. And a gun. A pellet gun. What type? Well, how about a rabbit pellet gun? Since you're in my custody. And while you're at it, I need a couple of knives, too. And hey, make those big knives. Now hurry it up. Move over. Come on. I wish I wasn't having to work this traffic so I could get to the Indy 1500 Gun and Outdoor Show, I tell you what. Now what's keeping that Harv? Oh, there he is. Hey, Harv. Oh, look out, Harv. Look out. I wonder if those were skinning knives he bought.
Celebrity voice and imaginary character impersonator. The Indy 1500 Gun, Knife, and Outdoor Show this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the State Fairgrounds.
When a health system treats patients with the very best in medical care and compassion, it needs a rare kind of staff. That's why Eskenazi Health never stops looking for professionals who understand that technology is most effective when paired. If you are a nurse,
a social worker,
or another professional interested in a career with us, visit eskenazihealth.edu/careers. Eskenazi Health, one of Becker's 150 great places to work in healthcare.
Indianapolis. At Geico, our employees' careers matter to us.
An inclusive office matters to me.
We hear you, Kelly. Geico has employee resource groups that bring people from all communities together because diversity matters. Your hopes and dreams matter. Even giving you a little space for your lucky bobblehead matters.
Want to work at Geico, Randy? Oh, he says yes.
When it comes to your career, what matters to you matters to Geico. We're now hiring claims, sales, and customer service agents. Apply today at careers.geico.com/Indianapolis and let's get growing.
From your invitations to your vows, you want every detail of your wedding to be an expression of you as a couple. At Shane Company, you can easily create a unique engagement ring to reflect your love. Our selection of ring settings in every price range is unmatched. Over 1,000 styles created by our design team. You won't find these at the mall or anywhere else. Once you select a ring setting, pick a spectacular center stone. We have diamonds, rubies, and over a dozen colors of sapphires. With every shape, size, and color, it'll be easy to find a center stone that speaks to your style. Make your engagement ring even more special with a decorative crown. It's a unique way to elegantly frame the center stone and add your own touch. Choose from hundreds of designs like tulips, stars, halos, and more. Visit us today. We'd love to help you bring your dream ring to life.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Hey, Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Kirby Heating and Air Conditioning. Robert Kirby says the dependability of American Standard products is not by accident.
American Standard, they're doing more research and development. They have it tested in the field. So when it comes out, there's just not very many problems. I mean, we get a new product line on a new furnace, and it's just very reliable.
And Kirby is very reliable at 317-892-3614. Kirby Heating and Air Conditioning is your trusted local independent American Standard dealer.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. Listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So you were mentioning, Mark, that there is some IndyCar news to Kevin, some IndyCar news to discuss, right?
Yeah, I saw yesterday that Kyle Kirkwood, a rookie this year for AJ Foyt Racing, is on the move to Andretti and next year. And the popular thought is then Alexander Rossi is heading to Arrow Mclaren.
Yeah, that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. As a matter of fact, that was Jenna Fryer of the Associated Press was the first to report that a couple of months ago.
It's been wildly speculated, but sounds like about to be official.
So Rossi will be moving on to Arrow. Kyle Kirkwood is a promising young talent who has come up through the Mazda road to Indy. He and David Malukas were really a fun pairing to watch battle it out last year in Indy Lights. But Kirkwood, through his road to Indy, raced for Andretti. Then had the scholarship money from winning Indy Lights that he used to race for AJ Foyt this year, and has had good results. I mean, I know that he hasn't won races, but he's looked good, especially with some of the resources that are more limited than other teams. So it seemed a done deal that he would inevitably end up at Andretti at some point. So now that opportunity arises because Rossi is moving on to Arrow Mclaren SP, who was really...
To take somebody's spot, or Pato Ward and Felix Rosenquist are still...
Outstanding question.
I guess Pato signed an extension.
There have been various reports on that. Some saying that Rossi would be a third car. Others saying, no, Rosenquist is not going to be back. I personally believe, nothing to base this on, I think Rosenquist will be back. I think they'll do 3 cars. I hope so. I think Rosenquist showed himself well at Indy and has shown progress with them. But McLaren in particular, the acquisition of Arrow and the merger or whatever with McLaren and Zach Brown, and they're now building a shop on the northwest side up in Whitestown. They're not messing around. They're not messing around at all. And the question now becomes, if Rossi's good, they're going to have 3 cars. The question is it Rossi or do they look elsewhere? Kevin Lee had mentioned that he had heard that there might be some other people they're looking at besides Rosenquist for that second seat. All I know is this: McLaren ain't messing around. I mean, they'll throw money at you, but they've got resources. I mean,
so they're adding a car by all accounts, and then Juan Pablo was their additional car in the 500. Correct?
And I think that'll probably still be, if he wants to do so, they'll continue that relationship in May next year. But Taylor Kyle, who oversees that team now, is a Ben Davis guy. Grew up watching his stepfather Mike Hull, the way that he handled and manages Ganassi, and he's learned a lot, clearly, because he's doing a heck of a job with that team being completely dialed in.
Could we see Rinus Veekay on the move?
I think that's a possibility. Veekay has said that he...
With Ed Carpenter right now.
And he has said, hey, listen, Ed's where I got my start, and Ed looked out for me. We'll see, but Veekay is going to have a lot of overtures thrown his way as well, I believe. So
interesting.
Silly season, as they call it, right?
It's kind of early, right, for all this? I mean, June? Are we even halfway through the season?
It is interesting that, usually this stuff starts happening around late August, right?
So you're off to Belle Isle, the Detroit race this weekend, and next year they're still in Detroit next year, but it won't be on Belle Isle?
Correct. It'll be in downtown Detroit in a Grand Prix. I'm staying, actually, there's a casino in Detroit. That's where we're staying this year. There's a hotel in the casino. So I might actually go down and put $4 on the roulette table. I never do more than 5.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with maybe a 2023 Flames Lord Stanley Cup bet.
Nice future.
Yeah. I'm shocked we've made it this far into the week, and your upcoming trip to Detroit, and you have not given us a Little Caesars impression about their
pizza. The fact that you guys don't think that I've already put down money on the Flames for next year. I told you, since 2020, 23's been the vision. So I've had that bet, the futures in for like 2 years now. Because I knew, this year was disappointing. It was disappointing, but a year away. And I've known that from the beginning. It would have been nice, but a year away. Next year's the year.
You a casino guy?
Never saw the movie. Not really. I'm not. we'll go and I'll play roulette. I've been to Vegas. Listen, I've been to Vegas before and not bet a single dollar. Just walked around.
Man.
I mean, I don't know. Here's my thing.
Charles Barkley on the golf broadcast yesterday was like, it's the longest I've been in Vegas without walking into a casino.
I'll bet. For me, the thrill of a win is not as impactful an emotion or strength of emotion to me as the gut punch of losing. So it doesn't balance out.
God, it sounds like a Friday Night Lights scene, what you just said there.
How about you take $1 and do a futures bet parlay, and you do Maryland to win the Big Ten championship, Millwall to get promoted to the Champions League, and then you get your Flames to win.
If that hits,
conference.
you've got Jeff Bezos money.
$1, and you're gonna be you can buy this whole
throw in
building.
Paris Campbell, comeback player of the year.
$1 to do all that.
Oh yeah.
Well, Millwall is the one I'm the most confident in because they got the Husky chocolate behind them.
Hey, and the Captain Morgan for the kids.
I'm probably more blackjack than roulette.
Blackjack for me
in
too.
The casino. I'm not like find me a casino within 50-mile radius of trips, and I'm gonna go there. But I enjoy going to a casino.
The first time that I ever went to Las Vegas, I was moving, and in moving around furniture, I found an airline voucher that I'd forgotten about that was expiring in like 2 weeks, and I'm like, well, where can I go on 2 weeks' notice? So I went by myself. I was like 26.
You just found this piece of paper?
Yeah. I went by myself to Las Vegas, landed, and I'd never been there, so I really didn't know what to expect. This was a long time ago. And so I'm walking around, and the first place I went, I was in Bally's, and I was watching people play craps, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And there was a guy next to me, and we started talking, and he was like my age also, and he was from Reykjavik. Is that Iceland's capital?
I don't know.
Yeah, something like
that.
that.
Anyway,
he was
like,
R and a Y.
He's like, yeah, I'm here for a work convention, but it doesn't start until tomorrow. So he's like, I've never been here either. So this dude and I ended up like running around the whole evening together. I mean, just like hanging out. It was great hanging out, and we went to all these different, and we went to Hard Rock, which had just opened, I think, and was it Hard Rock? Anyway, they had an Elvis Presley slot game, and I kid you not, the thing must have been broken because it was unbelievable. Every time I pulled the thing, it was hitting. It was unbelievable. Slot? I think it was quarters, but I mean, literally won like $400.
Every time you won, you say, the king wants some bacon.
I did.
That's what the machine said back to you?
Yeah.
It was awesome, man.
Well, safe try. I know you'll be doing the show tomorrow. But
I am doing the show tomorrow.
Then you are off to Detroit.
I'm going to go to Windsor if you guys want any weird... I'll bring back some ketchup-flavored potato chips for you. You can only get them in Canada.
That sounds delightful.
I'm telling you.
I'm actually somewhat intrigued by that.
I will bring back ketchup chips for you. They're awesome.
Really? Shockingly, I'm saying I'm intrigued by a food choice that you...
Some coffee crisp candy bars.
It's got to be better than Vegemite.
Thank you to Stephen Holder, Scott Agness, and Mike Locksley. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview, talking a little bit of Nick Cross and much more, the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins, who joined us earlier. Again, tonight, game 1 of the finals, 9 o'clock the tip. Our coverage will begin at 8 o'clock. Golden State, a 4-point favorite in that one. Everybody have a great Thursday. We will talk to you tomorrow. Kevin and Corey.
Well, another 500 is in the books, so let's look